Welcome everybody to the NLC Full Open, brought to you by MasterCard, El Giganten, and Corsair. My name is Scoundrel, and on the desk with me today will be Gulborg and Jamada. As per yesterday, we are ready to take on the second day of best of threes, and we've got plenty of exciting action coming your way. Now, before we get into it, there are two streams running today. There is the NLC LOL stream, which you're seeing here, and we will be covering, I believe, and I'm going to double check this so I don't get it wrong, so everybody laughs at me. We'll be covering two series today on the show. We'll be showing you Dusty versus Nordavind White, and we're showing you Viking versus Unique. But if you want to cover the other two, or you want to catch the other two games, they'll be over on twitch.tv/the UKEL, THEUKEL. And they'll be covering the other two series, which is Barrage versus Singularity, and then Riddle versus Envision. So we have every single series being shown today across two streams. Make sure that you go and check them out where you can. Of course, Jamada back here for a second day. Yesterday was definitely an experience. Your first time on an analyst desk. You absolutely smurfed it, by the way. I'm very much excited to see what you guys have to say. And Gulborg back with his beautiful fashion sense. I don't know if I could live a day of NLC without seeing Gulborg's shirts. So I'm glad that we've got Gulborg in full floral flash, and when I'm wearing some sort of horrible flannel shirt. But anyway, guys, yesterday was interesting, right? Yesterday was interesting. We had some surprise wins. We had some expected wins. Just like briefly before we kind of dive into the show today, what was your big takeaway from yesterday?
I mean, for me, it was definitely Nordavind White versus Tricked, because coming into this, it's always on these fall tournaments that new teams don't have too much time to practice. So the teams that stick together from the last split or open or tournament usually have a bit more experience and easier time. They don't have to find out, okay, what kind of team are we? Where are our strengths? What weak side? What strong side? What are we playing towards? They should just work like that. But Tricked just didn't, and Nordavind White took it.
Anything from you, Jamada? Or you just agree with everything that
honestly,
Gulborg said?
honestly, Gulborg took my answer. I agree. It was such a shock to see Trick lose yesterday. I think everyone on the show, we all predicted Trick to win, so it was just like an outright blowout. All of us were expecting Trick to take down Nordavind White, so I think that's probably the biggest shock. Outside of that, we all had Absolve down to win too, but honestly, I think that series was far closer than any of us might have predicted. I mean, me personally, I didn't think it would necessarily be a blowout, but you know, SNG really showed up, so.
They absolutely did. And of course, if you guys want to get involved, we have a fantasy league, nlc.esports1.com. You can go and check that out. I've already put mine up on Twitter. I'm sure everybody else has on their social media channels as well. We've got some interesting fantasy stuff going on. And of course, you can do a play of the day vote, which will be on our social media channels as well. So you can go and do a play of the day with rewards available to you, as you can see on your screen right here. So make sure that you get onto socials and vote for the play of the day, and it'll be put out on one of our social media channels. Okay, so let's have a look at the standings and see where we are right now across our groups, because obviously we had some results and we kind of want to show you where we are in those brackets. So I'm going to bring you up Group A. I'm going to kind of rattle through these so we can get on to discussing the games ahead. But as you can see, Riddle and Envision will be playing today in the winners match. The elimination match on Saturday will be XY versus ENTS. If we go over to Group B, we can see the next group. It is going to be Viking versus Unique. I know Gulborg is ever so sad that PK ended up losing here, but Viking versus Unique, I'm sure he's pretty happy actually that Unique came out on top, because he was the only one to predict that way. We'll have our elimination match of PK versus Kova taking place on Saturday too. Going over to Group C, we will have Barrage versus M&M. We saw Barrage versus M&M. Barrage versus Singularity, which is obviously people saying, Singularity versus Barrage is going to be an interesting matchup, given that Barrage are one of the favorites for the tournament. But we also have our elimination match of M&M versus Absolved. And I think that's going to be a very close series on Saturday too. And very quickly going over to Group D, you'll see Nordavind White beat Tricked, which I think, as Gulborg and Jamada said, was a big upset. And we have a big match of Nordavind White versus Dusty today. But we also have that elimination match of Tricked versus Nordavind Black, which is going to be very interesting. But I'm going to bring in Jamada and Gulborg here to talk about that first matchup, which is going to be Nordavind White versus Dusty. And first off, I'm going to bring it over to you, Gulborg. That performance from Nordavind White in their series versus Tricked, how did that happen? Because most people were not expecting that.
No, I think me included, but the thing that just came in, I was viewing the games earlier today and just taking a look at it, is that they are so driven by Spooky. In the third game they had, 20 minutes into the game, he was 4 level ahead of his opposition in Soft, and this is just a meta for him. I feel like we're probably going to be saying that a lot for the junglers here in the league, but fact is, we have so many good jungle players who loves to have this carry style coming into it, and in general, it was laners who just really play through Spooky. You get to Spooky, he gets to carry to the mid game, and from there end, they're really good at punishing mistakes. So every time Trick made a small mistake, they were there to capitalize.
And of course, Jamada, his opposite number in the jungle for Spooky is going to be C-Boy. We know quite a lot about C-Boy. He was in the NLC. What do we see of C-Boy? What do we expect from him coming into this matchup? Any particular picks that you think are going to be relevant? Because I think we are lasering in on the jungle being a very important factor in Nordavind White versus Dusty.
Yeah, I think it's just to do more so with the meta. 10.19 is a very jungle-driven meta, particularly just having all of the power farmers, the Graves, the Nidalee, the Lilia, etc. It has to be jungle-focused almost every single game. You need your jungler to be on point. You need him to feel strong. So it's why we're highlighting the jungle matchup so frequently. And talking about the C-Boy versus Spooky, I think, they share a lot of the contested picks on this patch. So I think it's going to be more towards sort of what sort of lane matchups they draft with the jungle in tandem to sort of give each jungler more freedom.
And every time we speak about junglers, you also have to be like, when it's this kind of meta, normally you think junglers, okay, they're here to gank the lanes and get the lanes ahead. But when you have carry jungler meta, that gets turned around. It is now the laning pressure that needs to be funneled into the jungler so the jungler can get a lead. And then it's about, okay, what laner can adapt best to that meta as well. And I think that's when we also have to take a look at the bot lane from Dusty, because Click is one of the most roaming bot lanes I've ever seen. When he's got an Ezreal and his AD carry, he's just released and he's out on the map like 5 minutes of the game, 4 minutes, 9 minutes. He's just out there and he creates so much pressure on the map. So the jungle support duo of C-Boy and of Click is something we should pay attention to today as well.
Yeah, and I think also something that you guys both mentioned when we were talking about this series in anticipation was that Nordavind White punished Tricked heavily when it came to punishing mistakes. Like they were able to shut down what essentially were big errors from Tricked across the map. But it doesn't seem like Dusty make those same errors. Do you think, Jamada, that it's going to be difficult today for Nordavind White to have those same kind of punishing maneuvers versus a team like Dusty?
Yeah, I think if Dusty, sort of stay in formation and they play a clean game, that Nordavind White, they might struggle today. Well, I say might. I think they are going to struggle today. I think it should realistically be sort of an uphill battle. That being said, taking down a team like Tricked, most of us had Tricked sort of pegged top 2, maybe 3. So, there's sort of, they've raised their expectations now, I think, for a majority of the tournament. So, yeah, I think if Dusty do manage to slip up, White will punish because Tricked are a very disciplined team. They didn't necessarily show it yesterday, but nonetheless, White punished when it was necessary. So I'm definitely looking forward to see whether Dusty can stay in line and not allow White to punish them.
Yeah, and I think you need to be ready for what White does to you sometimes. Yesterday, they were just pulling their top laner down into the river. Drake was not up. There's no objectives whatsoever, but they just felt like, all right, we're putting our on in the enemy jungle, and we're going to camp here for 1 minute with our support. And it just worked. They just start a fight like that out of nowhere. So as Dusty, you like the macro and you're good at playing it. The problem is Nordavind White creates an imbalance in that. They love the chaos, and I think that's what we need to pay attention to today, because they also like the global mid laners with Lucchesi. We've seen him on the Galio. We've seen him on the TP. So we're going to be looking for global action today as well.
And I think something that also was said just before we sort of head towards break to get to that pick and ban phase is that we're expecting a mid-game action here, right? This is two teams that focus very heavily around the macro mid-game stuff. Dusty in the terms of the disciplined macro rotations and rather White with the chaos in the mid-game as well. So are we expecting explosions in the mid-game here between these two teams?
I mean, yeah, we might even expect them earlier. Me and Jamada were going on about this. Depending on what outcome and how the responses is to the rotations, that explosion might already happen from the first invade.
Yeah.
We could be seeing things even earlier here. I'm excited to see this series. I think Nordavind White's expectations for me have gone up massively, and obviously Dusty as well, looking like a great team in the NLC full open. But as we said, got a short break, picks and bans. We'll be ready after we get back.
wasting time? 'Cause I'm already gone. So long, can you stay the night? 'Cause you're the thing I want. I know you're feeling different when you're stressed out, but even with no makeup you still stand out. 'Cause no one makes me feel the way you do now. Like you do now. The way that you move your body, you make it look like a hobby. Every time that you touch me, it's electricity. Things we discovered underneath last night's covers. Everything came so easy. It's electricity. Electricity. Whoa. It's electricity. Electricity. It's electricity. When it's late at night, I feel you on my skin. My skin. You're all that's on my mind. It's finally sinking in. You're it. I know you're feeling different when you're stressed out, but even with no makeup you still stand out. 'Cause no one makes me feel the way you do now. Like you do now. The way that you move your body, you make it look like a hobby. Every time that you touch me, it's electricity. Things we discovered underneath last night's covers. Everything came so easy. It's electricity. Electricity. Oh, it's electricity. Electricity. It's electricity. The way that you move your body, you make it look like a hobby. Every time that you touch me, it's electricity. Things we discovered underneath last night's covers. Everything came so easy. It's electricity. Electricity. It's electricity. You move your body. Electricity. You move your body. It's electricity.
Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC Full Open. We are about to head into our first series of the night, but before we do, we've got some predictions because we do have our talent predictions to go through. And as you can see, to kick things off, it is only Orcs who has decided to go at the other end of the spectrum, which would be the White versus Dusty matchup. He's going to go for Nordavind White over Dusty. Most of us here going for Dusty, I think, also convinced with Dusty's performance yesterday. We're going into that Barrage versus Singularity. You can see a little bit of a discrepancy. It wouldn't be Jake without voting against Barrage. And it's Viking versus Unique following that. Most people on the side are Unique, but myself and Hitbrain going for Viking there. And at the end, really only Dan really going against the grain with the predictions today. I can't work out whether he did that intentionally, guys, or he's really going big brain moment for for Orcs on these broadcasts. But I think everybody on the desk comfortably heading for Dusty, as you said, Jemada. Feels like a bit of an uphill battle for White despite their performance yesterday.
Yeah, and we're all gonna look real stupid if Dan's got these predictions right.
I feel like we didn't really have too many right predictions yesterday anyway, so hopefully maybe he's just trying to switch it around and be like, nothing made sense yesterday, let's just try this instead.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, well, we have, as you can see, the bans already starting out here with Syndra and Twisted Fate. As you mentioned, it is going to be the global bans going away from Lucchesi. Lucchesi having that global impact on something like the Twisted Fate, not going to get his hands on it. In fact, I think we've seen a lot of Twisted Fate bans on 1019. He's, especially during our tournament so far, he's been a pretty popular ban when it comes to our champions.
And I like that they're already getting rid of Paulson on his Syndra. He's also this control mage-esque kind of player. He didn't even die in his series against Nordavind Black, so he's actually deathless in the NLC Fall Open, just removing the qualification matches, of course. Going into banning Spooky away here, I think it's kind of intelligent, but we do have some of the junglers still available. We're talking Nidalee, we're talking Graves, and we're talking Kindred here, so it's going to be interesting to see how the draft phase is going to evolve and what these two teams will prioritize taking away from each other.
Yeah, and I wonder whether Nordavind White are going to sort of double stack another jungle ban here, or Lucian's still up and available, so they don't necessarily have to ban that away on blue side. Looks like they want the Graves this time around, and I mean, I'm not too sure really if the Lucian's in Lucchesi's like back pocket. Like we say, he really does prefer sort of the global style and some of the other control mages, so interesting to see whether or not Dusty are willing to just leave it up and try and trade it between some of the other power picks still up and available. We've spoken about the Nidalee. Of course, we have all of the other powerful AD carries as well. No AD bans really in this opening phase at the moment, as it's going to be a Galio ban. So everything is pretty much up.
I mean, they're really trying to target Lucchesi here with the Galio, as you said. Those globals. That's definitely some focus on him, but it's going to be the Nidalee first pick for Spooky.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. Obviously, granted, the only one of the three we talked about left in the jungle is going to be Kindred here. So, as we said in the pre-game, pay attention to the jungle matchup between these two guys, because it is going to be about them in the early game. Paulson getting his hands onto the likes of Orianna, really safe pick. Great when you've also removed the global threat, so you don't have to worry about getting outroamed for now. Granted, Lucian is still up and available. You already have the AP jungler, so the damage profile would still be fine. But Lucchesi is going to grab his Cassiopeia.
Yeah. I'm surprised by that. Sorry, Excound.
No.
Like Wahlberg is rightfully pointing out, you have the Nidalee there to balance out the damage. So interesting to see that they're not really willing to put any priority on the Lucian. And I suppose Dusty's bans kind of reflect that, not really banning it or caring too much for the champion in general. So it would have definitely made for a very strong mid 2v2 duel between the pairings, but now they also want the Shen, so I guess it's going to be sort of focusing on that mid 2v2 into maybe bot side, I think, for Nordavind White here.
Yeah, and if you remember back to the European Masters, the champion that I think Lucchesi was most famous for, I'm guessing famous in inverted commas, but the champion that he had the most impressive performance on was his Cassiopeia. That was like his 1v9 champion, and I think in a game like this, White are, I think, stacked against it. I think when it comes to the overall power level of these two teams, and I appreciate that Lucchesi is trying to say, okay, first game, bring something that I'm super comfortable on, bring my best, and that's what I think he's doing with the Cassiopeia. But the Ezreal does get locked in before we head to those second ban phases, and I imagine now the AD carries will start to get targeted a little bit here by Dusty.
Yeah, absolutely, and I just love that Ezreal pick. We talked about it quite quickly. You need to enable click onto this map. The safest AD carry you have in the pool, well, that's Ezreal. So now when you have him, you can start getting click onto something more comfortable. You can even save him as the 5th pick for your support if it matters that much, because this Shen is still a flex pick. This Shen can go up to the top side, but he can still be a support as well.
Yeah, and like you said, click wants to be enabled, so I'm liking this Thresh ban. I'm wondering whether they're also going to throw on maybe something along the lines of a Rakan ban as well. Rakan and Ezreal sort of famously safe in the bottom side, and it will definitely enable Clip to be able to just walk up towards the mid lane with C-Boy and try and impact Paulson's lane. So I'm a big fan of Nordavind's bans, and like I said, also a Twitch ban tied. I'm not going to have his hands on that one. I would have maybe expected something along the lines of perhaps Ashe, if you want to try and sort of layer some priority on the bottom side. So very interesting to see that, but Twitch actually does have a pretty damn good matchup into Ezreal, so maybe it's something Dusty are not really willing to give over at this moment in time.
So my question is, now that we've seen, obviously Shen can flex support. We know that Shen can flex support, but let's say that this is going to be top lane Shen for Nordavind White. Gulborg, you talked a lot about the need for strong solo laners to facilitate the jungle. Given the current setup here for Nordavind White, do you think that they've got that? Do you think that the advantage lies with them, or do you think that Dusty, you know, with the Orianna, potentially having a strong pick in the top side of the map is going to facilitate them better in the jungle?
You have to take into the account of the 2v2 in the mid lane as well, because that's a lot where the pressure is going to be coming through. And you have Nidalee and Cassiopeia, which is not really the best gank setup in all. Most of the time you will see Orianna run face rush, so even if you get Miasma, and it's just so easy to dodge this blue when you have face rush going. So with that being said, I think there is tools for Dusty here to enable C-Boy, because it is going to be easier for him to come in here and kill the Cassiopeia if we came down to it. But now let's take a look at this Renekton, because that means that we are going to be having a Shen support.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised about the Shen being flexed down to support, because Nordavind White even invested a ban on the Gangplank, which obviously we know Gangplank really does dumpster on Shen. So looks like sort of a last second swap around in the minds of Nordavind White, and they just want to move the Shen down. They want to blind pick the Renekton. It's much safer than having the Shen up there. And I mean, this does set up for Dusty to kind of pick not necessarily anything they want, but it has to be able to survive the dive of a Renekton and a Nidalee.
Yeah, it definitely has to be the winning matchup here. If you're really cheeky, you can go for, let's say, a range. But I was going to say, if you want something really safe, even though it's not a winning matchup, definitely go for the On here, because you just have a really easy and execute composition on Leona, Ezreal, and of course Orianna. It's easy to play around a double AD carry with this setup as well. I think the Shen in general was put bot because you can W the Leona stun with the Q. So maybe that was why, okay, let's put him bot instead and just not risk the Gangplank in general.
So to me, I get the impression that Dusty I mean, you've probably seen this composition run millions of times before. It just feels like a classic team fight combo. Really good in the 5v5, great engage, great follow up with the Orianna ultimate. They wanted to play around those neutral objectives in the mid game. But Jamada, before we head to casters, how do Nordavind White win then? What is their composition win condition?
It sort of seems like they want to be playing around their solo laners here. I think when you've got Nidalee and the Renekton, it immediately means you have to put some resources into that lane. And then I guess it's going to have to be sort of on the bottom side to find whatever resources they can and sort of just play it out and try and look for the scaling.
Look for the scaling, okay, yeah, with the Ashe, of course, as well. But it does feel like that Nidalee Renekton combo is going to be pretty key, potentially how they link up with Lucchesi as well. Going to hand it over to our casters, though, as we get into our first game of the day. Orcs and Hitbrain, take it away.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. Hello and welcome to the caster desk as we're getting ready to go into our first game of day 2 here at the NLC 4 Open. My name is Hitbrain and I'm joined by Orcs. Orcs, how are you feeling about these two teams?
I think it's an interesting one. I feel like we talked a lot yesterday about ease of execution, and I think Dusty have come out ahead in this regard. I think their composition kind of just is going to play itself in the later stages. You've got, strong backline carries who have a decent amount of protection between the Orianna and the Kindred, and there's a lot of tankiness on the front line, a lot of CC as well. I don't think it's hard to play, and I think based on a lot of people leaning towards Dusty, this should be theirs to take, whereas Nordavind, this Nidalee needs to pop off. There is no way you can put it in any other sort of requirements. This Nidalee needs to pop off, this Renekton needs to be strong, and they have the tools to do so. Renekton Nidalee is a strong combo. They have globals from the bot lane, but any missed execution could be devastating for the team.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of Nidalee yesterday as well. And one of your key things was you were saying that you haven't really seen Nidalee get too much of a great performance. Now, yesterday, we did see Shackle actually take it to success. But outside of that, we had 6 games yesterday. And yeah, we had a lot of Nidalee. I think we had Nidalee in every game, if I'm right. And I think like 2 of them were good. Like there were 2 good Nidalee performances out of like 6 games.
Even the Nidalee games when
Nidalee.
Yeah, even when the Nidalee won, it didn't feel like the Nidalee like massively did something. It didn't feel like the Nidalee was the dominant factor that dictated the game, and we weren't getting the results we'd hoped for. So here there is this setup. particularly in the top lane. There's the Renekton's point and click CC to allow the Nidalee to follow up. And even if you look towards bot lane, the taunt combined with the root from Senna also means you can look for plays there. But ideally, I want to see Spooky leaning towards Venny on this Renekton. I want to see this Ornn get punished.
Let's keep our eyes on that then. Try and put Stenboss behind. Obviously, one of the things about the Ornn is even if it does fall behind, sure, it gets out of levels later, which means it won't be able to hand out the ornaments until later on in the game. But as long as you hit that 6 point, you're kind of like a Malphite at that point. You can still ult, you can still engage for the team, you can still frontline somewhat effectively. But behind does mean you will get melted through and does mean that Zvene will be a real problem. So we'll keep our eyes on what Spooky's going to be looking to do. He is actually starting up on the red side, which means the clear will be heading towards the top lane. So we could expect to see maybe some early ganks coming out from Spooky towards this top lane, considering his jungle start, while C-Boy also starting on the red side to be clearing downwards.
I think it's definitely the right call. I think both teams playing towards the side they want to lean on. You want to see Kindred getting some momentum towards his bot side. And realistically, if we do see Spooky putting a lot of pressure top, it's kind of up to Stenboss to survive. But it also gives an opportunity for C-Boy to invade. If you're leaning heavily around this top side, it leaves your bot lane open, leaves your bot side jungle available, and there's potential to start picking up some camps and some marks in the early levels.
Yeah, those marks are the important one as well. 4 marks is when we see the Kindred kind of get their spike off the passive buff there, getting the extra range and all that extra attack damage. I can't remember exactly how much attack damage they get, but it is a nice one for them. So marks are what we're looking for C-Boy. Spooky, we want to see some proactivity towards this top lane. Let's put Stenboss behind. But for now, everybody is just farming up. It's been a red buff start for C-Boy, and he's gone straight towards the bot lane already. Down here, bot side, we do see it cleanse. His touch actually goes low. Hoyes dashes in one more time, and the first blood from the tick is there. Flick finds the kill as he finds another Zenith Blade, finds another stun, flashes away. Hoyes flashes after, and Dusty's bot lane are popping off already.
Click playing this so well here, finally engaged back to back, and honestly, Nordavind just not ready. You got to respect the level 2 advantage, and Dusty even factored that in and went aggressive a little before the level 2 came on. And Nordavind bot lane just we're not ready for that level of aggression. 1-0-1 now for the Ezreal. He's going to be able to pick up that tier and get back to lane with it. Just a beautiful start for Dusty.
And they managed to crash a pretty large wave in as well, which is going to set Ty down significantly. As man, Click was just reading that so well. That is the domination you want to see from this bot lane, and you can already see, like I said, the tier has now been picked up for Hoyes, making his way towards the bot lane. C-Boy and Click are now joining forces, the jungle and the support synergy, looking just to set themselves up for this Scuttle Crab. Unfortunately for them, RNG was not in their favor. Spooky will secure the top lane one, which was the mark.
Yeah, a bit unlucky, but either way, I like to see this. This is something I always love to praise. It's jungle support pairing up together and moving around the map. It's what you see from really high-level support, and anytime I see a support doing it, I'm always going to give them praise.
Oh, that was nice.
Touch.
You found yourself getting caught out here. Is able to put down the block, but he doesn't taunt over the wall, and C-Boy going to receive a little bit more damage for his team there as Tide is able to put down the shadow, allowing Touch to be able to get away, but good stuff there.
It's a pretty hard lane to actually punish once they hit level 3. I'm not sure what it's called, the sigil from Shen, and the blocks the auto attacks. Actually stops the Leona stun from coming through, so it's actually a really nice matchup in that terms. And then obviously the shadow coming out from the Senna makes it hard to follow up in terms of damage. So it is honestly a pretty safe lane, and that's the expectation for Nordavind. You pick this bot lane because you know it's quite safe for this matchup. Ezreal Leona shouldn't be able to pressure. But honestly, Dusty bot lane just outplayed in that first 2v2. Weren't able to find anything there. But one thing to look at is the sheer amount of vision in this bot side jungle from Dusty.
Oh, that is beautiful as well. Spooky didn't check for the ward as Click actually flashes forward, finds himself the stun in time before the Shroud comes out. And now Touch going to get healed up a little bit by the Q as Hoyes has to dash away to safety, but a nice trade there from Dusty, using that Hex Flash in the bush. Now Spooky is making his way over, has been spotted out on the ward. However, C-Boy is also hovering around this bot side, some more action to break out. Meanwhile, bit of trading going off in the top lane. Touch finds himself a taunt. The spear's blocked out by the minion. And C-Boy comes in forward. Hoyes gets the cleanse off, but he does go down to Tide. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but the teleports are coming in. Here's the backup of Lucchesi and Svene have made their way up. Dusty lose one, forcing 2 teleports from the side of Nordavind.
Oh, that is rough to see. 1 teleport would have been more than enough, but 2, that's a hit. Not only do you lose pressure in your mid and top lane, you can see Paulson able to shove that one in, but you're now down in terms of teleport. Then Boss does have his available to use in the future, and they're going to look for a plate here.
They're going to be looking for a C-Boy here. Tide's been caught out. Has to jump away. Paulson's making his way in. Got that level 6 mark. That's going to be the shutdown. The flash, the shockwave. Onto 2 by Paulson. Spooky flashes the bush. Sven is chasing C-Boy. As C-Boy survives and Hoyes finds the kill. Here comes the Ornhorn. As Sten will run over Spooky.
It's one of those scenarios where you could tell Nordavind weren't happy with the outcome of the play. Oh, we burnt 2 TPs for nothing? Well, I guess you have to try and make something happen. And the end result is they overstep massively and get punished for it. And now they're still going to translate this into a dragon, so really solid early pickup from them.
Really solid stuff there. You can see, though, Touch is trying to play interrupt here at the dragon. Might be a little bit hard for him. Steve Boy is smiteless, though. This could be a little risky. Touch is buying some space, buying some time. Click makes his way through. And Dusty will be able to secure themselves this first dragon. Let's have a little look at that one once again, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is just them overreaching and Tide way too aggressive here taking tower aggro. It's actually a really nice Hex Flash from Click. And although he does end up going down, it corrals the rest of Nordavind in. Svene ends up overcommitting and can't actually chase down C-Boy. And this is where the TP from Stemboss comes in. They're able to clap after having their waves in a good position. Oh, been a bit more of a fight here.
Oh, this is on the spear. C-Boy! Oh, spooky!
Yeah, you're not playing that one. Quite a bit of farm on Spooky, and he has managed to get his Runic Echoes completed, and you just didn't respect that there, C-Boy. It's a lot of damage, a lot of burst potential. I think you learned a lesson there, that's for sure.
Now that's a lot of damage. Spooky able to get an easy assassination off of the C-Boy. Now Paulson, he's starting to feel the heat ramp up. Has got C-Boy coming forward, although level 5 to level 7 separates these junglers. Paulson closing in on the shockwave. Spooky's going to jump him forward as they get the petrifying gaze off onto Click, but Click may just lose his life. Looking for the stun, is going to be able to find it. Touch is making his way forward, got the taunts available, and it looks like both of these teams are just going to step away from the mid lane. Nobody goes down. Lucchesi does burn Flash, though.
Yeah, it was quite an aggressive play there from Lucchesi. I think he was trying to either dissuade Click from engaged on him or look for a play on him, but realistically, Leona, a bit too tanky. Oh, flash burn from both AD carries there. But one of the other things about Leona is she's actually really good into Cassiopeia, because one of the changes they made a while back was her W now not only gives her extra armor and magic resist, it reduces damage by a flat amount. So against the poisons, that actually has huge value.
Yeah, it's really nice, actually.
It makes it extremely difficult, especially with early Merc Treads, for Lucchesi to cut through the Leona. So, an ambitious play. Didn't quite work out. But it's good to see Nordavind looking to answer back and trying to continue this momentum, because it was definitely a rough start. You can see Spooky going for the Rift Herald now, but for Dusty, their concern is picking up those marks for the Kindred.
That's not even a mark count, unfortunately, so...
Oh, yeah.
That's actually a really rough one. Spooky does get to steal away this red buff in response. Needs something. He's 2 levels down to Spooky at the moment. Down 20 CS, and actually C-Boy, he might bite off more than you can chew here, mate. Trying to jump towards the team, but Tide will hunt him down. Has got that Lamb's Respite to buy some time. Can he pop it in time? No, he can't. A railgun from Tide is enough to secure that one.
Really nice from both Touch and Tide there. I like that Touch instantly goes for the Taunt Flash to ensure he gets the CC as quick as possible. Doesn't give him a chance to ult. And then Tide going for the ultimate for maximum burst there. Gets him down before he can pop the Lamb's Respite in. C-Boy just a bit overeager there. A bit too greedy to try and catch up in terms of farm. And as you said, that wasn't even for a mark. If it was a mark, at least there's some sort of justification there. You're just picking up a couple of CS and you end up going down for it.
Bit of desperation for C-Boy. He's had some good ganks, had some good reads, but at the end of the day, has been struggling to keep up with Spooky. This is why we see so much priority put on the Nidalee in the last 2 days of this league. These power farming junglers can just slingshot so far ahead.
This is actually like how Nidalee should be going. This is the sort of thing that we're hoping for from when we see Nidalee, is Nidalee finding a massive farm advantage been able to power farm compared to other junglers and actually challenge them and steal away camps. So Spooky doing the pick justice in this game.
Yeah, it's been a really good performance so far from Spooky. And one of the things that Dex were hitting on was the mid lane 2v2 with Spooky and Lucchesi over Paulson and Seaboy. Hasn't really been the case, actually. They've kind of ignored the mid lane. The mid laners have gotten a bit of the action. Paulson with that rotation towards the bot lane in that last fight. But for the most part, it hasn't really been about them rotating towards that lane. It's been very heavily focused on this bot side of Seaboy. Trying to go for an invade, but again, that's not a mark. The mark is actually at the river. It's at that Rift Arrow. Paulson does have the shoves that he can help Seaboy move over here, but Spooky is bolting his way up, and so is Touch.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. The bot lane having priority is more important for Nordavind now. I think I might end up seeing a big fight over this one. TP is not available for top laners.
They want this
It will
mark.
be a 4v4.
Lucchesi clearing out that ward. They're jumping forward, looking for the smite. Seaboy just gets a light bit of damage down. Wants to secure this mark, and that'll be the first one for Seaboy. Nothing burnt from either side. They are going to be looking to scrap over every little objective they can as Boys takes a little bit of poke on the way back into the lane.
Yeah, it's just a bit over-aggressive there from Spooky. Thought he had the damage to burst out, but realistically, I feel like he could have just looked for some harass onto the side of Dusty without necessarily committing to the scuttle there. Now, quick!
That's going to be a good taunt onto two. Seaboy's making his way forward, trying to jump forward. The land respite comes down beautifully. Here comes the teleport to try and buy some space. Seaboy going onto Spooky, finds himself the shutdown. Petrifying Gaze, only a slow for the moment. That'll be the end of Seaboy, but a massive shockwave from Paulson. It doesn't matter. He's lost his life. Lucchesi's starting to run away with a fight, but Hoy's still fairly healthy, still got mana to work with. Click, low HP. Touch in the bush as well. It's still a 2 versus 2. It looks like Dusty are going to step away. Touch does find himself the taunt onto Hoy's, but it's not going to be enough. And now Click, he's on the ward. He's been spotted. Pops a W to try and survive this. Looks for the stun. Looks for the lockdown. Isn't going to quite be able to find it. A great railgun comes through to get the shield off. And Nordavind come out on top.
That was definitely a close one. A lot of aggression there from Nordavind, particularly Touch on the back end, but they managed to come out just slightly ahead. But we see a lot of kills given over to Hoyes there, 4-2 on this Ezreal, and Lucchesi 3-1 now on this Cassiopeia. 3 kills picked up in that passage of play. We'll get the replay here. So Click just a bit over aggressive. Like there is movement coming down from Lucchesi as well. That's what they didn't really factor in this situation. And what's interesting is the TP actually gets used here, but there was TPs available for top laners. They just weren't in a position to be able to follow up. And really, Lucchesi was a standout performance by doing so much damage, able to take down Paulson as well. And the big note here is Paulson did not die at all yesterday. So this is his first death of the tournament. Not including the qualifiers, but the main stage tournament, this is his first death so far. And Lucchesi was the one to give him it.
The shockwaves from Paulson have been pretty big, though. And both his Ramsey's bot lane, he's caught multi-man shockwaves. If he can continue to do that, once he starts to ramp up a little bit more in the power department, might be a problem. Spooky lands a spear, jumps instantly in for the assassination. I don't think the land's respite is ready for Seaboy yet, as Paulson looking for his opportunity. Solar Flare, 4-man shockwave. As Lucchesi gets himself a Zhonya's off, but he will get taken out. Spooky looks to assassinate Paulson. Paulson able to survive. Here comes Sten. He's bought the Ornhorn. He's bought the knockup. And Hoyes is looking for Tide. Shifts out of the way and secures himself that one. Now he's flashed for Spooky. Landing Q after Q after Q as Touch is forced away. And Dusty will be gifted their second dragon of this game.
Way too ham there from Nordavind. Way too deep into the enemy team. And the big thing with that mid tower was often a line of protection and allowed Paulson just to sit back and put out tons of damage. Over aggressive, and Nordavind get punished.
Oh, Touch just sitting in the bush there. Spooky's about, but Touch is going to go pretty low. He's already used the Shroud. One more Q. Just enough of a heal comes through from Tide to make sure that he does not go down. We do need to talk about the nuisance that Nordavind are going to have to be dealing with in Hoyes. 5, 2, and 4 on the Ezreal. Let's have a little look at this once again, though.
Yeah, so it's just over-aggressive. They don't find Seaboy. Lucchesi flashes over an ultimate. And honestly, it's a great stopwatch by Click. Buys so much time, forces Nordavind to wait there for him to come out of it, and allows Paulson to land damage to take out Lucchesi. And then the rest of Dusty turn up. Tide, nowhere to go. Honestly, probably should have just accepted his fate there and not bait the flash. And Dusty can just start chasing down the kills. My big question, though, is what Touch was doing hiding next to the red buff, but either way, he did manage to get out at the end.
Does look like, though, Nordavind will be able to pick up their second Rift Herald this game. They've been good on these objectives, able to use it to secure themselves first turret blood in the bot side. We'll see what they can do with that here. Probably looking to crack open this mid lane turret. As the Orianna's starting to ramp up in AP, the Ceres is fully stacked, and the wave clear is very much online now for Dusty. So Rift Herald will help you crack open this turret.
And I'm starting to feel pretty concerned for Nordavind because that massive CS advantage we saw in the jungle has kind of been closed out by C-Boy. Very small distance between them in terms of farm. But we look at the bot lane, Hoyes is massively ahead of Tide, not just in CS, but also in kills. And this discrepancy is going to hurt, especially moving into the mid game where the Ezreal is so powerful with his item spike.
I mean, I'm glad you said that, because did you see how much damage that Q did to touch?
Yeah.
Oh, Lucchesi looking for the petrifying gaze.
It's a zoning ult. It's a zoning ult.
Paulson didn't even need to know he was there to block that one. As Spear's going to go a little bit wide, and Spooky going to actually chased here by Click. They might be looking for a little bit of a collapse. Spooky did land that spear, but probably not feeling the assassination attempts this time.
Just force them away, but you can see it again. It's just C-Boy and Click. They're the ones who are there for an Ninja 3v2, but you got to be aware there is the ultimates for Shen and Senna available, so this isn't exactly a flat 3v2. Quickly can get assistance from the rest of their team, but for now it looks like Nordavind just will be able to hold them off.
C-Boy does need to be careful though, as Spooky's picked up a Sheen as his first base. He's actually got quite a lot more damage than you'd normally expect. Well, not first base, but his first next kind of item path. It looks like he's actually maybe building towards that Lich Bane second.
Seen a lot of polarizing opinions on what is best for the Nidalee. A lot of people feel like you should be going for the utility, like Athene's build. And there's some people who are in the school of thought of, you want to get fed, you want to carry, you want to have Lich Bane for more damage. I think it's a tough one to call. I think especially when you feel like you're ahead, you want to go for the more carry-oriented, but it kind of does mean you fall off quite a bit in the later stages of the game. Because at least with the Athenes, you do provide a lot of healing utility for your team.
Well, Rift Herald was used in the mid lane, and they weren't able to crack open the turret. They do a fair amount of damage to it, however. Dragon spawning up in 1 minute 30. Base is coming forward for Hoyes. Finishes up the Iceborne Gauntlet. There's 2 items on your Ezreal with the Executioner's cooling as well to kind of deal with Lucchesi's healing from the E, the Twin Fangs, and for Spooky. And actually Tide as well. There's a fair amount of healing on this team to deal with. So I like these pickups here for Hoyes. Means it's going to be a little bit more of a nuisance.
And the thing is, the gold isn't even significantly apart overall. Having the first tower pickup for the side of Nordavind, helping them out quite a bit. You can see beneficiaries of that really is Spooky with quite a significant gold advantage. But that's not my concern, is the difference in gold. It's really who the gold is on, because Hoyes being so strong when this is a peak point in the game for Ezreal is really concerning. And it really comes down to how these members can utilize their advantages, because it's not, it's a similar overall team gold amount, but the individual differences is pretty big. And you can see Dusty already starting to get some vision control in the area. Third Dragon often a big one for teams to contest.
Yeah, it really is. Now, 19 minutes on the clock. Another turret has crumbled. It's 2-0. Nordavind get a massive amount of damage into touch. Arcane Crucial Barrage, almost clipping him. That probably would have been the death of him, actually, there. If that had hit.
It's not too bad that Touch is the one that gets low, because obviously he can reset and ult back in. The problem is, though, he's the one who holds all the wards. So if they want to push in and contest vision, they need their support to be there. And he's undoubtedly going to be late in this situation. So they're pushing in. It's going to be pretty hard to have any vision.
Well, looking to step up here, Sten. Does have to be a little bit careful. Keep in mind the Miasma will be able to stop him from recasting that ultimate. Dusty just playing in the darkness for the moment. Dragon has been pulled out. It's already pretty low. Nordavind spot it out here with the Miasma. Then he pops the ultimate. Petrifying Gaze comes down, but that's going to be the Dragon secured as the railgun has been fired. Click looks for the ultimate. He's in the middle of absolutely everyone, and Sven's dealing with Sten Boss, but Hoyes and Paulson are just untouched for the moment, firing away. The true shot cuts knocks through Touch's health bar. Spooky goes golden, flashes into the wall, and Paulson secures the kill. Now Sven's looking for Hoyes. A massive shockwave will lock him down as Paulson finds himself a double kill. Tide going low, and Sten will be able to secure that one. Hoyes mopping up the 4th, and Touch is the only one to survive. Dusty get Dragon, and they get 4 kills.
Yeah, 3 seconds on C-Boy coming back up as well. He was first to die, so they can head straight to the Baron. Smite will be there in time as well, but I don't even think they need it with only Touch to contest. Just a beautiful team fight there from Dusty to win that one out. And it looks like when we're talking about the ones with gold, Polston and Hoyes definitely the big carries in that team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. They kited that fight so beautifully, and that's the power of the Iceborne Gauntlet. Makes it a little bit tanky, but also has that slow, which means it gets harder for these melee people like Sven to deal with that. That's Baron Nashor picked up for Dusty. Hex flash out as Touch looks for the taunt, unable to find it.
Clean getaway. And that's 3 dragons as well. We will get to see the replay of that fight. So Lucchesi goes for a very aggressive play to instantly take out C-Boy. But the problem is Stem Boss buys so much time on this side of the fight. And meanwhile, Hoyes and Paulson just unchallenged. Lucchesi has no way to get close in this quite short range. You can see that Spooky's attempting to do something, but he's just trapped in the pit. And when Svene finally goes aggressive, the extra armor coming out from the gauntlet, the shielding from Paulson is too much. And this Orianna is just masterful at controlling these team fights.
Yeah, it really is. He's got the Leandra, he's got the Sarah Shield, now a needlessly large rod. Building towards either that Death Cap or Spellbinder. We'll see what Paulson decides to go for here.
It definitely should be a Death Cap with own items starting to come out. You already seen he has his own upgrades, so pretty tanky at this point. And once you can start handing those out to teammates, it's another big spike for the side of Dusty. And it's not like Dusty are going to fall off in this game. Really strong scaling on their side, so it's rough. And I look at Nordavind and I think, are they going to be ready to fight in 2 minutes 50 for this next dragon? Probably not.
The
Especially
big
with
thing
towers
is
being taken there.
the gold is fairly close, but like you were saying, the towers are being taken. It's 3-0 at the moment. So there's a lot of locked gold on the map for Dusty. They can extend this gold lead even further now. First turret's going to fall, second turret's going to fall as well. And look at that, the gold lead now just starting to stretch even further. There is an answer by Lucchesi, though, in this top side. Actually continuing to push in the Cassiopeia. So someone needs to go answer this. They do have a Baron push to work with, but they may just lose an inhibitor tower. It looks like they're okay to give this up as Tide dodges out on the Zenith Blade. And Hoyes is just going to continue to fire away at this tower. Touch on the flank, and now Paulson's gone up to the top side to deal with Lucchesi.
Paulson actually used his shockwave there, trying to catch out Lucchesi. Oh, Touch.
Touch.
Oh, fails.
That's solo Hoyes. True Shot Barrage will snipe him. As Spooky takes so much damage in response as well. Lucchesi looking for another Petrifying Gaze onto Paulson, unable to find it as he does land the Q.
Yeah, I think the game plan there was they saw Paulson top and they're like, okay, Orianna's not here. She's the main threat. Touch tries to go aggressive, but they easily spot him out, and Hoyes is still doing so much damage right now. Really hard for them really to do anything in return.
The gold lead, when I talked about it about 2 minutes ago, was 2,000. It's now 4,000. Lucchesi jumping in. They got the teleport to Paulson. Paulson's actually just tanking the tower for the moment as Touch is coming in. Taunt onto Sten. As Paulson takes a fair amount of damage. The Spooky's looking for him. Looks for the railgun. Dodges out. Has that blast cone to use. As Sten will lose his life. Paulson's coming in with a shockwave onto 2.
Oh, the damage. Oh!
It's beautifully placed. Dusty cash in on 2. And Lucchesi, the only one standing. They'll be able to scout him out with the Orianna Ball. They'll be able to scout him out with Hoyes. And Lucchesi, this is just going to be the end of days for you. The Miasma will just swade a cheeky E, but they can still see him. They will still find this kill.
They're stalling it for the dragon.
Oh, that's really smart. They even force out the Petrifying Gaze. That was incredibly well executed by Dusty.
Doesn't quite work out if C-Boy goes down, though.
Oh, no. Yeah, C-Boy maybe not on the same page as the rest of the team. Puts out the white flag and actually throws out a Lamb's Respite, trying to buy some space. They got a teleport coming in as Tide's going to go pretty low here. Not low enough to die, but Paulson might be able to mop up Tide if he finds his opportunity. Shockwave coming up in a second's time, and he might just find this assassination. Tide, I don't think he's aware of this. Actually, it looks like we are just going to get the recall from the Orianna. They're going to move their way over towards this dragon, and Mountain Soul will be slowed down unless Dusty can pull something off. True Shot Barrage lands tight,
So low.
and that's actually going to chunk him out again. He healed up a little bit there, but now Colton just comes in and takes him out. The assassination from the Orianna is there. Sven slowed down by the Solar Flare, and Sten will just continue to zone him away. Touch inside the pit, and Hoyes will just look for a little bit more damage into him. Spooky over in the Pixel Brush. Maybe looking for something onto Hoyes. Click is also about, and Paulson just still looking for Sven.
I mean, this is a hard fight to win if you're 5v5. 4v5, it seems nigh on impossible.
T-Boy's actually getting jumped onto. Call of the Forge God's going to be there to land a knock. Instead, it's just going to play Interrupt. And now C-Boy goes, you don't have any rotation left. You're going down. As that's going to be the kill. Spooky inside the pit now, trying to see if he can secure this dragon. Hoyes gets taunted onto. Petrifying Gaze once again isn't enough. As the Shockwave
it's stolen as well.
They secure the dragon. Dusty are just taking everything in this game.
I didn't know Orianna Ezreal was a combo like this, but they are showing the power of it. This True Shot Barrage Shockwave combo devastating Nordavind, and the carries of Dusty are absolutely popping off. Mountain Soul picked up. They're going to start pushing up, but it's only Tide and Touch to defend. Don't think there's much you can do in this situation.
You could see there the gold difference chart that was on your screens. You can see the moment when Dusty went, right, let's stop fighting and let's start taking objectives. A massive, massive spike. Thank you very much, producers, bringing that back up. You can see the moment where they go, let's take some towers now. It was 2,000 gold between these teams. They now started taking some towers. They now started putting their foot on the gas a little bit, and the gold lead has accelerated. Railgun's going to come down. A C-Boy may lose his life, but throws out the Lamb's Respite in time to get the heal off. Lucchesi's on the flank. Actually might be able to find this one. Looking for the Q. The Miasma goes wide, and C-Boy's still alive. Petrifying Gaze not actually going to land onto him. C-Boy just playing with fire right now. Finally goes down, but they do get themselves another kill. Spooky looks for the assassination of the Hoyes, and he will lose his life. Does get a bit of a shield from the Shen, but it's not going to be quite enough. The Shockwave from Paulson will secure yet another, and Touch is in the fountain. Not going to be able to find the kill onto him, but Dusty, they're going to be okay with that. 27 minutes on the clock, 27 kills on the board for Dusty, and they will be closing out this game number one. Paulson only dying once here. Beautiful game from Dusty.
The carries, honestly, for Dusty, just absolutely huge in this one. Hoyes and Paulson, both of them doing so much work in this game. And I feel like I have to give credit to Click. He was a really strong performer on the Leona, just lots of pressure around the map and pairing up with C-Boy. But these carries just came alive in these team fights. Yeah. Devastating performance from them, and Dusty looking very good after that game one.
Yeah, that was a very, very dominant game one from Dusty. Question is can they do it again? Because yesterday we saw a very dominant game from, I'm going to have to look, from, it was Absolved. No, Singularity got a very dominant game one. Then game two, they had a bit of fun with it, and Absolved actually pulled it back. So Dusty, if they want to kind of put the strongest foot forward here, another clean game like that, a 2-0 is what they are looking for. We'll have to find out. Guys, we're going to throw to a quick break, and when we're back with game two of this series. See you in a second.
Nothing is as it seems. I feel like I'm in a dream, but that's where I wanna be. And I feel free for the first time. And I feel free for the first time. For the first time. For the first time, for the first time, and I feel free for the first time, and I feel allocation of the kinds of wealth. We found this animation, thought was a conversation, pictures on a shelf. People say we are just what we do. It's just a stage. So we go on, and the lights are so strong. Just have to make this sound. We've broken ground, it's a countdown. We go on. Go on. Oh, oh. Life is an invitation, a soapbox imagination.
Well, that was a pretty dominant performance from Dusty. A couple of wobbles in the early game. It definitely maybe felt a little bit closer over the first 10 to 15 minutes than it should have done. But after that, Dusty were in control. And I think Jamada, I'm going to quote you here, mate. I think, or it might have been Gulbog. I always get it wrong. Someone said it in the middle of a game, but they basically said, Nordavind White, they've got Spooky, and Dusty, they've got a team, and that's kind of like how it was. And it was Gulbug. He's laughing at me. It was Gulbug that said it.
It was Gulbug.
I got it wrong yesterday. One of you guys said it, but that's kind of sums it up. It definitely felt like the team play from Dusty was just that much better.
Yeah, and I think we were highlighting the jungle matchup in the early game going into it, and you have to compliment Spooky on it because, no matter how you look up it, he was just levels ahead of C-Boy in the beginning. And at some point, C-Boy did look a bit lost on the map, but I think it's the team play that Dusty brings out, and the jungle synergy that C-Boy has with Click, who's just moving around the map, getting first blood. Click, to me, feels like a pivotal part in this Dusty roster because he just does so much for it.
Yeah, and he was roaming like a madman. I know, Jamada, actually, you are going to be stepping up to the plate to take us through a play from that game. So should we have a look at the play you've selected, and you're going to walk us through it?
Yeah, I am. So on your screens right here, you've got both Dusty and Nordavind. You've got the dragon spawning in about 40 seconds. And the reason why I've got it sort of here at such a sort of kind of a dead time is actually to highlight the importance of reset timings. On your right, you have Dusty, and you can already see Click and C-Boy. They're in the river because they reset about 10 seconds in advance. And now normally what this means is for an important dragon like this, they're going to have all of the priority to lay down vision and sweep away anything that Nordavind may have in place. I'm going to just let it play out. And you can see C-Boy, Click together, just walking in, placing shallow vision and removing any shallow vision that Nordavind attempt to get down. And in the event that Nordavind actually had any vision laid in their own Dusty's jungle, they would have had it also swept out. And that's kind of impactful because for this fight, the Renekton wants a flank ward, realistically, but he wouldn't have been able to have gotten it because Dusty were the first ones back out onto the map, and they remove all of the vision, and this eventually just leads up to what effectively just kind of becomes a pretty one-sided fight, all because of positional advantage, because Dusty reset first. So I just wanted to highlight that, and that's kind of it. And you can see the fight eventually just plays out, fast forwarding a little bit. And Nordavind, you can see the vision. There's nothing there for them. They have to kind of force to try and make it into the river to try and secure the dragon, but they're not eventually able to. And it's a very prolonged fight. And then this is also the part now where I want to highlight the importance of positioning. Hoyes, Paulson, they always stick together. Click is always in a position where you can turn around to peel for both of his carries. Meanwhile, Stembose, he's trying to cause some havoc in the backline. At this moment, he's focusing Svene, but he's kind of doing his job, keeping everybody safe from that potential dive. And we just see both the carries eventually hammer home at everybody.
Yeah, and it definitely felt like it was just the ability to single out targets in that particular engage. It didn't feel like Nordavind White had a unified target in mind. Like they were worried about that flank from the Ornn, but they were also worried about the Orianna and the Ezreal, and they never really focused down together as a unit there, Gulbo.
Yeah, and I just feel like it also came down to the drafting you did. You drafted for solo laners here, and you had a Senna, which more of a facilitating AD carry. So initially, the Ezreal will always outscale that Senna, and you can't front to back this fight. So in this point of the game, it's kind of already too late, because you have a Cassiopeia in the mid lane, which is a great solo laner to play for as well, but she needs someone to peel as well. And you just didn't play for these solo laners. You got Spooky ahead, and he was so far ahead. And then it was like, oh, but what do we play for now? Because either we just keep diving this on where we sacrifice our bot lane all the time, and they couldn't get the tempo of the map. The reset timers that Jamada highlighted wasn't there. The actual idea of how you wanted to fight it out wasn't there. You just saw they had to front to back with a Renekton versus an Ornn, and that just doesn't work. So you need to rethink. If you go for a draft like this, you also need to have a play style that actually fits it.
Well, okay. Oh, sorry, Jamada, go.
Yeah, no, it just struck me as strange, the Renekton pick in general. They have their Renekton with the Nidalee, and they never ended up playing into it. It just seemed kind of off that Spooky was able to get such a big lead, and then he was never really able to transfer anywhere. So I would like to see if they want to draft in a manner where it looks like they are going to have set up for solo lanes, play for these solo lanes, because outside of Spooky, it just turned into a situation where the Dusty carries were always on spike, ahead of curve of Lucchesi. And Nordavind White weren't able to keep up with the damage output of Paulson and Hoyes.
And my question is then, very quickly before we head to break and go towards our second game in the series here, is this synonymous with what we saw from them yesterday? Is this how Nordavind White ended up winning? Did they play through solo laners as a primary goal, or was their game plan a little different heading into the Trick matchup?
It was definitely a bit of both, because yesterday as well, the solo laners didn't really get ahead. It came down to Spooky, and it came down to your mid. You were then able to equalize and punish those mistakes the Trick made. But problem is, this Dusty roster, they just don't miss. They're not making mistakes, right? You just saw how they handled that Cassiopeia in the top lane as well when he was stuck in the alcove. It was just great fun watching, but it is also just that Dusty is so good at rotating the maps and minimizing their mistakes.
So it really feels like it's the Spooky show, and he needs to translate leads that he can get in the jungle to the lanes. Otherwise, it doesn't really feel like Nordavind White have got a chance here. Okay, well, we'll see how that plays out heading into our second game. We're going to go to a short break. When we're back, we'll have that champion select ready to go.
In the twilight before the dark hour, and this time I better get it right, 'cause maybe we're all passengers on the inside. I had something nice to say, I'm thinking of that blood, that blood you are. I never wandered far, I never set my standards too low, and I never wandered far, and I don't mind, take the lead and drive me far away. You drive me far away. You drive me. When the night comes creeping in to say goodnight, and the daybreak starts within in the blink of an eye, and the dream is like a highway that never ends. I'm wanting it all to last, I'm waiting for it to pass. I had And I don't mind. Take the lead and drive me far away. You drive me far away. You drive me. You drive me far away. You drive me.
I feel like I'm in a dream, 'cause nothing is as it seems. I feel like I'm in a dream, but that's where I wanna be. And I feel free for the first time. And I feel free for the first time. For the first time. For the first time. For the first time. And I feel free for the first time. And I feel free for the first time. Give me a sign of something.
Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC Full Open. We are into Champion Select here for Nordavind and Dusty. And again, Dusty now over on the blue side this time around. So Nordavind choosing red side following that loss previously. Galio again targeting out Lucchese's ability to influence the map. And we're going to see Seaboy's Graves taken away. Didn't expect to see Seaboy get Graves, and we will not expect to see him get it this series either.
No, I think it makes perfectly sense. It's also one of the carry jungler he's more comfortable on. But it's going to be more interesting to see now. Okay, so we both know that Nidalee and Kindred is still up and available if you want to grab it. But question is, does that have a first pick priority for Dusty? Because either way, okay, Nidalee actually getting banned here, so Spooky not opting into that one. There is a scenario that I've not seen before where you just first pick the Kindred because you want to have one of the carry junglers, but there is also a scenario where you are on blue side, you grab the Lucian, you go for Evelyn or another AP jungler as well, where you want to get a priority with Paulson. But it is a bit of a different story because Paulson is such a control mage player that we might not see that.
Yeah, that's the question for me now is where does Lucian land? Because he didn't really show up last game, despite there being no ban, if I remember correctly. So it kind of shows both these teams not really willing to prioritize it. This time it's actually Nordavind White with the TF ban too. So I mean, you know, it leaves the Kindred up. Whether Seaboy wants to pilot it again after last game, I think is going to be the biggest question, because outside of that, you know, there's not really too many powerful junglers left. You think about Hecarim, and then you start thinking about like junglers even lower down on the tier, Gragas, tank junglers. But it's not too pretty.
I love that little trap they set up. They were like, okay, we're not banning Twisted Faith this time, so we're gonna let you, either you have to ban it or you have to let a power pick for us come through here. But understandably so, they first pick Orianna. Paulson was so consistent onto that champion. He played the team fights phenomenal on it. And now I love the return pick over here from Nordavind. Take away this Ezreal. Not only is Hoyce a brilliant play on it, but Ezreal, we mentioned it so many times, it's so easy for Click to play support and have a roaming duel with Seaboy when your own AD carry is Ezreal.
Yeah, the pick just enables Dusty so much. So like you're saying, I love this takeaway. And now, with that in mind, I mean, they know the Orianna's going to go mid. They could just go ahead and take their mid lane pick here. That being said, they also have the choice of picking up their highest prior jungler, whether Spooky wants to pilot that Kindred himself. I think those are probably the options running through Nordavind White's head at the moment. I would personally like to see the jungler. I think that normally getting the wow. All right, well, I think that's the pick for Lucchesi, I would imagine, into Orianna then. Just routed me in my tracks.
It's interesting because Vega is one of those champions where team fighting becomes a whole different story.
Yeah.
Dusty, granted, was really good in the first game, but it's just that baby cage from Vega that can divide a team fight and really good pick potential to come out from it. I kind of already like the adaptation because if you are playing for a jungler, that ability alone is so good for skirmish potential with Spooky if he opts in for a Kindred himself or if it's not picked away. But it's gonna none of these hovers I think will matter. I don't think we'll see Kha'Zix. I don't think we'll see the likes of Kayn either. We might see the likes of Hecarim here just because it's one of the more blind pickable jungles as well that's got a lot of priority and power in them. But it's going to be interesting. Leona's still up and available as well. That Click performed really well on, but it is just going to be the Kindred takeaway.
Yeah, thinking about the Kha'Zix for a long time, it seemed. Definitely pairs up well with the Orianna, the stealth into the hidden shockwaves is something that a lot of people seem to actually forget is possible. And I think it would have definitely been okay to have bought a lot of time with this very hard to get on top of backline that Nordavind have at the moment found themselves with, and we're just going to see at least in straight into the Kindred. They want to just try and contest the Kindred out early. And I'm not too sure. I'm always very skeptical when I see these Sin picks, so I'm gonna stay reserved for now, Goldberg.
I'll try and cut you a deal here where you might like the listen. Right, but pictures is you got the Kindred, one of the few champions in the league that can keep you alive. You got the Lee Sin kick to kick him out of the Kindred ultimate, and you execute them with the Sonic waves. Therefore, it's a more traditional counter pick coming into the Kindred, but granted, Kindred is still one of the strongest duelist champions in the early game, so we might still see something more heavily focused towards C-Boy, but Spooky did have a really good showing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Lee Sins picked into Kindred specifically because you can actually also, even though Kindred is a strong duelist, I know that Lee Sin can close gaps on her, get in her face, make it difficult for her in those 1v1 duels. And Spooky, he's a jungler that can definitely pilot the Lee Sin incredibly well, but as you mentioned, is a very classic counter pick as well. As like the Gragas, also considered a bit of a classic counter pick to the Kindred. We might have been able to see that. But it looks like support bans are now being focused through Yuumi. So Yuumi Ezreal, bit of a flashback. We haven't seen a huge amount of Yuumi Ezreal kind of populate the meta as of late, but the Ornn is also taking away for Stembosse here, so we're not going to see Stembosse on kind of like his traditional tank pick in the top lane. We'll see what the final ban will be here for Dusty. Any supports or any particular picks you think should be getting rid of, like maybe the Nautilus or something like that?
Looking at support picks, yeah, I don't know. I think we need engages away from them now. He got a lot of pick potential. I would love for Sion to come through as well. I think Sion as a tanky frontliner here is perfect now that Malphite and Ornn is out of the way. And you got someone to play for. You got the pick potential in Vega that can scale. You got Ezreal, who's also prominent at that stage. But you could also just look to pick for your solo laner in Svenne and do what you did last game, but actually try and play towards those solo laners. And I like the Leona pick coming into it.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. I was going to say I'm wondering about Wukong. That's why I was thinking of Stembosse. Maybe Wukong with the Malphite ban.
Yeah, that definitely springs to mind. I think that Sion actually has a fair bit of value for both of these team comps because neither team at the moment very good at dealing with tanks for a pretty long time. Camille is still up. Goldberg, yeah. I wonder if Stembosse is just going to take Camille for himself. There's not really many picks up outside of the Renekton that can punish it super hard early.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I guess GP, yeah, too. So now this kind of makes things somewhat awkward for Svenne because realistically, picking a lot of carries into GP early on, it's gonna suck. Picking tanks into GP, it's gonna suck. So I really do like this GP pickup. It also means you've got the Jhin and the Bard lane, which you probably want to play sort of towards. So having that GP ultimate, the global, to line up some of that pressure is really nice. And okay, we're gonna see an Urgot lock in. It's been a while since I've seen Urgot show up, but I'm a fan. I like it.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that Sven has been piloting Urgot. He did play it against Tricked as well. Granted, it was into a tank now, but now we can see a bit of a different composition coming in from White. I like it a bit more because you have an AD carry to play for. You can scale towards team fights with pick potential in the endless scale of Vega, and you can even look to early skirmish with the Lee Sin, with the Urgot ultimate as well. So there's a bit more to play with from Nordavind right now.
Yeah, it definitely feels like I've got a lot of zone control in these team fights as well, with the Leona, with the Urgot, with the Viger and the Ezreal, like great zone control around these objectives. I'm sure you've got baby rage going on in the background here. Very quickly though, Jamada, before we head to casters Dusty, I just want you a very quick summary of what we think their win condition is going to be like.
I think it's just going to be playing into Paulson, realistically. You let them boss they scale on the GP, and you move Paulson down with the Kindred towards this Jhin lane. And you maybe think about early dragon stacking, but I don't really think dragons are a priority for either team here. I think it's just going to be about sort of enabling Paulson in this one.
Well, to see how it goes, we'll hand it over to our casters, Orcs and Hitbrain, for our second game of the series.
Would it really be an NLC show without barking dogs and crying babies from Excandrel's side? It's all coming together, Orcs, and for Dusty, it does feel like a lot came together here in this draft as well for themselves, but I do also think Nordavind have thrown a few curveballs on their side. They've stolen away the Leona and the Ezreal. Orianna remains with Paulson. But I want to talk a little bit about this other mid laner, Lucchesi on the Veigar. How is this going to go?
I think it's pretty interesting. I think into Orianna, obviously she's not the longest range carry, so if you can get that cage down on her, she is going to kind of be limited to that area. In terms of 2v2 at level 6 with the Lee Sin, obviously you can kick them into the cage. The execute from the Viger ult is pretty huge as well, but ultimately, I don't feel like it's necessarily the best pick in the full scope of this team composition. Viger often good against champions with dashes, and realistically, that's only the Kindred. And on top of that, you know, there's long range coming out from the bot lane of Dusty. There's the Gangplank, whereas the Oranges. We'll see how effective it can be, but I think this is Lucchesi going for something that's comfortable for him. And I feel like we've got a bit of that across the composition for Nordavind, because quite a few bans being levied, particularly at the jungle. So I think it's a fair point just to lean towards your comfort picks here.
Well, we have had a slight pause, guys, unfortunately, before we get into this game. So a little bit more time for us to talk about this. Obviously, we saw the main thing, I think, that separated these two teams in that last game wasn't just the draft. I think it was actually just the execution. I think Dusty were playing on an incredible level. It looked to me like there was very clear communication. They went into every fight, into every skirmish, knowing what they needed to do and executing on that. And it was flawless. It was really flawless. One of the things you were talking about was the Orianna Ezreal combos that we saw in that first game. The question is can Nordavind match this? Can Dusty do that again? Is obviously the first one, but second of all, if they can Nordavind match that cleanness of the play, the crispness that Dusty were pulling to that game number 1?
It's gonna be the question, and I think a big factor for me was Click pairing up with Seaboy and the movements around the map. He is now playing Bard, so I expect to see that amplified even more so. And if Nordavind want to match up to Dusty, we need to see Touch leaving the lane and moving to match those roams. If it doesn't happen, I feel like the jungle matchup is going to be forfeit towards Seaboy.
Well, defensive line's been started up by both of our teams so far, so it looks like for now we're not going to see any early level stuff go down. Spooky's making his way actually over towards the blue buff. Looking to clear upwards. May want to try and put some attention into Sten early. Does look like Seaboy will also be starting on this bottom side of the map, so junglers will be matching each other as they're headed up. Although in the first game, we saw Seaboy do his red buff and go straight to blue side and leave 2 camps in the red side. So potentially might be on the top side a little bit quicker unless Spooky matches him on that.
To see. I think it's important that you keep track of where the Kindred is going. And I think it's a good decision to try and match it, because Lee Sin can find Kindred in the early levels and find a duel with him. Especially if you land your Sonic Wave and Seaboy is on lower HP to get that execute damage.
Yeah. Actually looks like Seaboy's not doing that though. This time actually doing a full bot side clear. Maybe expecting Spooky to have started on the red buff potentially. We'll see.
Hoping that the bot lane... Oh, that's a pretty big amount of damage coming out with the flip from Svene. Gotta be careful of that on the Gangplank. Obviously, Oranges don't really do too much against the Urgot. You can cleanse the stun right at the end. But if you get flipped at any point, you're going to get pretty beaten up by the Urgot, even as early as level 1.
Could be rough, but for now, he has that grasp, he has a little bit of healing. Wave's going to push into him as well, so that's now level 2. Barrels available, bit more wave clear. Missing a few minions here and there, though. Does always feel a little bit rough. C-Boy actually just did 2 camps and then ran over to the blue side. Spooky is actually on the hunt here, though, looking for a potential invade. Got full health and mana bar to work with. C-Boy actually low mana. Will be found out here as Spooky finds the kick. Finds the chase, and they've got the flash to chase after. Spooky just going to happy with the Grump and the flash force from C-Boy. Good invade there on the Lee Sin. A good read overall.
There you go. If you find him on a little bit lower HP, land that Sonic Wave, the execute damage could just be too much for C-Boy to withstand. And I like the restraint from Spooky. A lot of players probably would have flashed over the wall to try and finish the kill off. Realistically, the mobility for Kindred makes that difficult. Now, I prefer playing mid, but Click is here.
Yeah, Spooky thinking he had that one, but Click showing up, and C-Boy actually held around with the red buff healing, decided to keep himself in this, and this actually is them forcing themselves onto an early mark for C-Boy. Spooky, though, making his way over, not going to be able to get there in time, and this is a much better start as far as the marks go for C-Boy than we saw in game number 1. So just a good roam there by Click, very heads up to make sure that his jungler doesn't start to get kind of walked over by Spooky once again, as far as those levels go.
And if we look bot lane, it was actually really good timing because the wave is built up for Nordavind. So Hoyes isn't missing very much here. Not many red minions have died as the wave is being pushed in. So it's not like Hoyes is missing much. He will be able to pick up most of that CS discrepancy we see on the scoreboard just with this wave that's built up. And that timing meant not only was he able to dissuade the gank mid, but also, as you said, secure that mark for C-Boy. So pretty instrumental roam there from Click. Even though the impact isn't instantly viewable from like a kill or a gank, it had a pretty big impact in helping C-Boy stabilize the jungle matchup.
Sometimes it's not about the kill. Sometimes it's not about the objective. It's about the little thing. And that has proven to work here for C-Boy. As Hoyes, like you said, kind of catching on this wave, not really falling too far down here. Will miss a few of these minions, unfortunately, although the bouncing grenade does do him some wonders. Has that cold start as well, so a little bit extra gold to work with. Something we have seen a little bit is this boots 4 pots into coal for Jhin players. Paulson actually will get found out by touch here. Stunned over the wall, caught inside the event horizon. We'll have to flash away as the ignite comes down. Paulson getting caught out.
Yeah, and critical thing is there's no cleanse on Paulson. So no way of getting out of the Vigar cage with that flash unavailable. I like that Touch is matching the roams now, finding an opportunity to move up himself and force a summoner from the Orianna. And something that we talked about earlier was the power of the combo between the Lee Sin and the Vigar. All that needs to happen is once they hit level 6, because he puts his cage down, Spooky can kick Paulson into the stun, and you're going to be in a really rough spot.
So he's doing a good job there to get out of danger, because that could have been a little rough. He's able to dodge away on the Zenith Blade, crucially, to keep himself alive. I believe the fleet footwork heal, actually, was what gave him the movement speed to dodge that.
So this is actually a rough spot for Click to be out of lane. You know how before I said the wave was heavily stacked and pushing towards Dusty? It's now in the opposite direction. So Hoyes is actually losing a fair bit of farm in this situation, but fortunately touch reset, he's not getting zoned off anymore.
Oh, they're looking for it. Pink wards have been placed. Paulson has been spotted out, has not got that level 6 to keep himself alive, while Lucchesi has the primordial burst, and that'll be first blood picked up for him. Dusty do answer out in this top side, 1 for 1 apiece.
Decent trade. I like the repunish onto Paulson, finding the opportunity to get that gank. Svene, though, just a bit overextended. Wasn't able to crash the wave in and back away, and never a good feeling to pass over a kill to a gangplank.
No, not when you had that kind of lead he had managed to build up there. Did throw down the ultimate as well in that skirmish. So no fear beyond death. And one of the things we do need to talk about is if C-Boy can get on top of Sven, as he ults, he can keep people alive thanks to that Lamb's Respite. So something Sven will always have to work around. Just a little bit of immunity to work with.
So it's actually the bard ult as well.
Yeah, actually, yeah. There is actually a few ways to negate Sven from using this Fear Beyond Death. In the heat of the moment, it can be a little bit difficult to execute on that, but what we have seen is Dusty seem to excel in the heat of the moment. They're very clear and calm and collected when they get to those points, so maybe for some teams it might be a little bit harder, but we'll have to see if Dusty can pull it off. Let's take stock of where we are item-wise orcs. Got the Sheen and the Stinger finished up for Sten. Zvene has a Bramble Vest to give him some armor, negate some of the healing potentially coming through. C-Boy hasn't finished up the Warriors, but is looking to come down in the spot side. Tide actually throws out the ultimate. He is going to have to flash away, but the Cannon Barrage will be enough as Hoyes lands the shot. Final one to lock him down. Deadly Flourish should be coming back off cooldown any second now. One last snipe will secure him the double kill. Beautiful from Dusty there to find himself that double onto the AD carry. This will result in an early dragon for them, but you can see Spooky bolting towards this top side, looking for something as a prize for the side in Nordavind. He'll pick up the Rift Herald.
Just great setup there. It's just the power of being able to find these great angles to approach from with the Bard and then the Jhin ult. Really no way they were getting out of that situation, but every skill shot connecting for the most part. 2 kills now on Hoyes. Once again, putting him in a really good spot for this game.
The Rift Herald picked up for Nordavind. We'll see where they want to throw that down. Last game, they used it to get first Tower Blood in the bot side. Nordavind have actually got 3 of the 3 Rift Heralds that have spawned up in this game, but I don't have time to talk about that as Paulson trying to duke and dodge away as the Primo
beautiful.
is blocked out by C-Boy. Here's the ulti. Paulson survives.
So well played there by C-Boy. I saw that scenario, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to get CC'd. He actually ran into the cage just before it expired. I'm like, no way you get out of this. And you can see Nordavind felt the same. They're approaching it very slowly as they felt it was a surefire thing. Paulson having no flash. What they didn't factor in was C-Boy flashing over the wall to make the hero play, and they're able to turn it around. Just beautiful stuff from Dusty there.
Really was. Spooky now making a play towards the top side, potentially. Has got that Rift Herald, so Sten goes down here. This could be him in for a bit of trouble. Great slow, though. Has to flash away before Sten can go for the kick flash. And now Click's making his way over, takes the magic portal. Coming forward with the stun available. Gonna lock Sven down for a moment. C-Boy makes his way up, and this will be the top lane for Nordavind dying. Spooky goes for the play and loses out, and more crucially, look at the size of that wave crashing in top lane. No teleport for Sven, but Hoyes, you're all alone. You do have a teleport, though. Suddenly, this is going to become a 2 versus 2 as Touch is taking tower shot. Hoyes just gets it nice and easy as C-Boy cashes in on so many plates in the top lane. A really, really big net win over the board here for the side of Dusty.
Yeah, that's massive. And it was just Nordavind overcommitting topside. The wave is massive. If you make a misplay, you lose so much. And on top of that, it just means that you can't really go too aggressive because the minions will end up doing so much damage. I just think it was a massive mistake. They should have let the wave push out, let Zvene trim it, and then go for the play, but they overreached and they got punished. Now Tide.
Curtain's been called, and Tide is dodging everything he can. The 4th shot comes down, and that's going to be a massive chunk onto him. Deadly Flourish locks him in place. Click steps forward. Hoyes flashes in, and that is his 4th kill on the Jhin. Beautifully executed once again by Dusty. And I think that just sums this series up. Dusty's execution is clean. It is crisp.
And they're great at finding the opportunities to punish. It honestly feels like Click has been everywhere on the map in this game. Touch. Can I go aggressive here?
Yeah, doesn't realize that C-Boy's about another Deadly Flourish to lock him down, and Touch is ignited. 4th shot. And that'll be the 5th kill for Dusty. Well, for
Hoyes and Click putting on a clinic here in the bot lane.
Lucchesi spin. Quite wound up by Paulson. Paulson avoids pretty much all of the damage bar and auto attack. As they're just babysitting Hoyes, letting him get the plate, but making sure he's safe to do so. Got that BF sword of Spooky, making his way in. Paulson does not have that flash yet. It's just come up, and now Tide. This is not where you want to be. Keeps himself alive for a little bit longer, but instantly caught out by the Deadly Flourish. And C-Boy, he's going to find himself the kill. It's a 1-for-1. You are right, they do lose that, but I still think this is worth for Dusty. More minions crashing in. If Spooky can find something here, that might be the moment. Kicks back into Touch. Touch locks him down, and that's the shutdown for Spooky. C-Boy dodges away with a Dance of Arrows on the Solar Flare. As Lucchesi's coming in with Event Horizon to lock C-Boy in place. C-Boy has that Lamb's Respite if needs be, but can't even throw it down in time. The Primordial Burst will be enough to secure it. Nordavind fight back.
Really nice timing with the stun there from Touch, because you could tell C-Boy was waiting to pop the ultimate, and that was the exact timing, so he didn't have a chance to react. Good punish there from Nordavind, showing some life in this game. Definitely needed. We'll get a replay ultimately, this dive is fine. Tide makes the right decision by getting into the stasis, but Click is the one who takes aggro first. No mana on C-Boy to use the ultimate does mean that he ends up going down. And then the collapse comes in. Spooky with great target selection onto the Jhin, instantly taking him out. Touchdown levels up. And it's a long chase here for C-Boy. Actually felt like maybe he'd get away in this situation, but the mana is a bit too low to use the ultimate. And on top of that, he gets stunned, chained into the damage. So a nice punish. Finally, you get an opportunity to take out the overextended Dusty. And the critical thing is there was a lot of shutdowns coming in from that. Hoises in particular was very large right there.
Yeah, but someone who's built up that shutdown was Tide, and he almost got caught out again there. Hoy's now running around with the Storm Razor, while it's just components for Tide as Spooky maybe getting caught out. C-Boy looks to hunt him down. Does have to water hop away to safety. A couple more auto attacks and the Wolf will pounce, but C-Boy not going to be able to find that. Paulson on the zoning duty here. I think this blue buff may just be handed off to Paulson. Would be nice to get that Orianna, give a bit more mana, start stacking that Archangels up, and look at what has just spawned. The Ocean Dragon is on the map, and 13 minutes on the clock. Dusty will get this uncontested. It's a true shot barrage. Ooh. That was close. Click was the one that secured it as well. That was very, very close.
Yeah, Steve-Boy's smite is still up and available. No fear. It's fine. They got it. No one noticed.
Calculated. Now we've got the Cloud Drake coming up fairly soon. Not overly useful for Hoys. Actually, you can't really use the movement speed after casting. The base movement speed's nice though.
Here's where you press your ultimate and cancel it instantly just for the movement speed.
That's big brain time. Zen flashes onto Sten. Sten just with the fancy dancing, able to dodge away on everything. That is,
yeah, that's rough.
That's a sad boy hours, that is.
It's interesting, Lucchesi's gone for the Rod of Ages. It's not something we typically see on Veigar. Often, like, higher priorities rushing CDR. There's the Glacial Augment build, which is very popular for setting up your CC.
Oh, Lucchesi, he's going to get caught out by the Shockwave. Solar Flare's not enough for the stun. Caught out by the Tempered Fate, actually, to make sure that Pilsen doesn't take too much damage. And C-Boy now just put it into the back of touch. He chunks out. Teleport coming in from Zen. It looks like Nordavind are going to look to contest a little bit more. It was actually Tide teleporting in, not Zvene.
Yeah, didn't really amount to anything there. The CC didn't quite connect. Obviously, Lucchesi put the cage around Paulson, but his footwork meant he didn't get stunned, and then Click ensuring the safety. Just an attempt from Nordavind that doesn't really pay off. And Tide just has to walk down towards bot lane, clear up the waves again.
It's pretty annoying playing Gangplank into got as far as the barrels are concerned. He can just pop your barrels faster than you can.
Pretty fun in that regard with the matchup, but so far Sven not really had the best time, been punished a fair bit in this top lane by pressure from the rest of the team, and obviously went for that solo kill attempt with the flash earlier, but was unsuccessful. Now, Sten having flash advantage probably doesn't feel too threatened.
Yeah, he even actually spotted out Spooky there with the blue trinket. I don't know if he saw Touch. Actually, he did, because Touch just cleared the ward, so
Spider Sense.
Sten knows for 3 people at top lane, and this just gives Hoys all the free time he wants to take down this top lane turret. This will be the first one of the game, first turret blood. Solo gold to Hoys. You thought this gym was far ahead. You can see how far ahead he is.
2,400. Wow.
Oh, it's rough.
That is almost an item. That's like a rapid fire cannon. Just short of one. Over Tide. And the thing with an Ezreal's items are really cheap. You know, if you go Mana Immune, Iceborne Gauntlet, really cheap. Spike early, really cost effective. That doesn't work though if the enemy AD carry is still like ahead of you in items despite paying a lot more for them. Right now, Hoys does have Storm Razor, Rapid Fire, and if we look at Tide, he hasn't even finished that gauntlet. It's pretty painful.
I mean, it's just a mirror mana as well. It's not even stacked, so it's kind of, you know, 3/4 of an item at this point.
Yeah, the big thing as well is that you get extra AD from the mana you have, and you get quite a bit of mana from Presence of Mind stacks, which Tide has none. Well, you have one from that one kill, but it's a very small amount to have, and it really means he just isn't working with much in terms of damage.
Yeah.
Comparatively to the Jhin, it's just you're a non-factor, and this is where we're coming to the point where Ezreal typically spikes super hard, so it's pretty rough to see. Dusty definitely still in control of this game. Now, we do see Dragon spawning in a minute 20. would be the third for Dusty. And often we see teams looking to contest this, trying to deny the soul, as obviously once you get to the third one, you're always in a tenuous spot for the enemy team being one away.
Well, Rift Herald's going to get spawned up by Dusty in this mid lane. Does give them the ability to get control of the lane. Charge is going to go down. That will just be the gold going over to C-Boy solo. But turret in the mid lane now cracked open. Top lane turret is under fire from Sten, and actually, sorry, dead from Sten. Means the map is pretty wide open for Dusty. They can push it a little bit more aggressively, and as our observer's doing a good job of showing us, they are now starting to eke this vision forward further and further. This is what Nordavind can see, but this is what Dusty can see right now. They have so much control of the vision around this area. Paulson hiding in that fog of war, looking for the opportunity to get a big shockwave off as Spooky's actually going to come in. Touch is going to get chunked out by Hoyes, is missing out on the deadly flourish. Event Horizon put down to make sure that they can't chase onto Spooky anymore. With this dragon spawning up soon, Dusty, they are the ones in control to contest this. They are the ones in control to pick this up, and Spooky may just have to be forced to smite to secure this, as he does. Now they look for the Event Horizon. Now they look for a cannon barrage. Deadly Flourish goes into the stopwatch. Touch. He'll lose his life to Paulson. Good Tempered Fate. Sven on that backline though for the moment, as they actually get the stun off, and this might just be a bit of a turnaround here from Nordavind. They are able to cash in on a shutdown onto Paulson as Nia tied, stepping forward looking for C-Boy. C-Boy going a little bit low, but has that Lance respite, and Sten has to eat the orange to keep himself alive. The kick back onto one, follows it up, and Hoyes gets him mid-flight. C-Boy uses the ultimate to keep himself alive for a little bit longer, as Tide able to find another kill. It's a clean 3 for 3, and this is exactly what Nordavind needed. But Sten setting up the barrels, looking for Lucchesi, unable to find him as the Deadly Flourish isn't going to snare him up, and Tide will just continue to fire away. Dusty go 3 for 3, but Nordavind can be very happy with that one.
I mean, the fact they matched when they were so far behind is absolutely massive. And honestly, I think this was all on Dusty just picking a fight in the worst position possible, because you get maximum value on those cages and such tight choke points. Meant it was incredibly difficult for Dusty to navigate those fights. Despite the good start they found, just a really rough one. And we'll get to see the replay. And Dusty's approach here, you can see the cage completely zones anyone from Dusty following up. There's a lot of damage that comes through that quickly takes down Touch. But again, it's very hard for them to move forward. They are slowed down a bit by Svene, but Lucchesi stays alive, that extra tankiness. They manage to take out Paulson quite quickly. And it's just this constant threat of the cages means that we can't see Dusty extending heavily. And actually, they're going for the Baron here. Barry got pretty fast at doing this with the W spam, but Paulson will be
Paulson spots him out with the bull. Does have that shockwave. Remember, magic resist being shredded. Spooky already forced out pretty low. Event Horizon will actually catch out Click at the moment, as he actually Tempered Fates himself to block out the Primordial Burst. Click able to survive due to that. Now, C-Boy smites the Rift Herald, sorry, the Scuttle Crab, to pick up the vision to work with. And Nordavind, it was a good attempt, actually. It was a very good attempt to at least try something there. At the end of the day, they don't gain anything else.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of CDR for the Vigar, and you actually, the cooldown on your Dark Mana, your W, reduces the more stacks you have. And it deals a lot of damage. Like, later in the game, we can be doing 1,000+ damage for each one, even to the Baron. So you can actually do the Baron incredibly fast. One of the big conditions, though, is having the mana pool to continue DPSing it, but I like that Nordavind went for that play. Dusty obviously did manage to scout it out, but you have to go for plays like that. Try and find windows of opportunity, because ultimately, otherwise, you're kind of just waiting for 3.5 minutes till you're fighting for that Cloud Soul. It's obviously not an optimal situation, as even if you win the fight, you may well lose the Smite battle and lose the Soul over the side of Dusty.
Now, Cloud Soul isn't the most influential dragon in the world, as C-Boy may be finding himself caught out. It's just non-stop action here. Fear Beyond Death is down, and
beautiful.
Svene is going to be able to find that kill. Sten now locked out, as he's going to be caught down. All the CC layered, and Spooky secures the kill. That's 2 for Nordavind. They started fire back in these last few fights.
Just finding good windows to punish, honestly, and you're starting to see the coordination that we expected from Nordavind White after their performance yesterday. Game 1, definitely a rough one, and even this game earlier on, I was having my doubts, but they've started to come online. They're now moving towards the Baron. Now, Shockwave available, Curtain Call available. This isn't going to be an easy take, especially as Cannon Barrage is up and available and Stem Boss is respawning soon. So this could be dangerous, but they are going to start it up.
It's going down very quickly, taking a lot of damage. Tempered Fate's available as the Curtain Call comes down. He's going to poke out a couple of members here and there. Touch taking a lot. Good Tempered Fate's going to slow this down momentarily as the Event Horizon's on, but nobody's going to get in range to do anything about this. Poulsen going to have to pull out a miracle now. Touch will lose his life. Poulsen looks for the shockwave. Spooky dodges out as the Event Horizon locks him down. Deadly Flourish will lock down Svene momentarily, but he's able to make away as Click comes in, looking for the stun, is able to find it. Hoyes is doing so much damage, and Tide will lose his life. Sten takes the kill. Just beautiful stuff there from Dusty to get a couple of kills in response. But a very, very heads-up play by Nordavind as they keep Baron onto 2 members.
I was going to say, after they just lost touch, I was like, this is a great play. Honestly, you take that in every scenario. Then losing Tide on Spooky in the back end isn't really worth it. A heavy hit towards the side of Nordavind. And now Dusty looking to try and compound things more, but Lucchesi has enough wave clear to deal with this scenario.
He's getting chunked out pretty heavily by those barrels, though. The Essence Reaver Triforce combo means Sten, especially if those crit, is going to hurt. 25% chance to crit at the moment. That's not the highest. But let's have a little look at this Baron once again.
So they're trying to buy time. I actually think the Curtain Call came in a little bit too early because health bars are still quite high right now. And all you're really doing is chunking out touch. The Cannon Barrage dealing a fair amount of damage. But the thing is, Spooky and Tide have the mobility to get over. And Svene actually uses Flash as well. So at this point, I'm like, this is great for Nordavind. But I feel like they went the wrong way. If Tide and Spooky headed up with Svene, they all got out. But instead, they run down, and you actually see Click finding this great angle and getting the stun, and as a result, they go down. So, poor pathing decision, pretty costly there for the start of Nordavind.
Very costly, but look at the damage Hoyes is doing. It's half health in Svene with the 3 auto attacks. Rapid Fire Cannon, Storm Razor, Infinity Edge combo really makes for a lot of damage coming out as Spooky finds out Click. Click will take the portal out. 23 seconds until this dragon spawns up, and looks like we're going to be in for some action, Orcs.
Definitely are. Gotta watch out for the critical carries. Hoyes is doing an insane amount of damage. I feel like Nordavind have to find an answer for him. Watch Click on that flank. I feel like he's fishing for an ultimate.
Also want to keep my eyes on Poulsen. Last game, his shockwaves were game-changing.
There's so much to watch.
Be the one to do it. There is a lot to keep your eyes on. Spooky as well on the flank. Dragon going to get started up. The Curtain Call has come down and it's going to rain out. The Cannon Barrage can do a lot of damage. That's a big 3-man Tempered Fate. Poulsen's trying to get in range to find that shockwave. The Dragon has been secured. The Event Horizon will stun down Poulsen. Nordavind grouped up, but the slow comes down from the Hextech Hosepipe, and Dusty are desperately trying to make their way forward. They have got a flank opportunity. They are looking for something, but it looks like they are just going to step away for the moment. The Event Horizon will send them away. Great secure there from Spooky to buy a little bit of space for his team.
Absolutely clutch. And then the cage from Lucchesi giving them the space to get away once again. There wasn't really a clean out there without the turret being up and available, but Dusty don't feel comfortable to approach without the ultimates as well are poised and Stem Boss. So they end up just rotating mid and taking a tower as consolation prize. But the critical thing is Nordavind denied that Dragon's Soul. Well played there by Spooky.
Really well played, especially to get out and live. Have we talked about the fact he's lethality Lee Sin?
No, but honestly, I think it's the right call in this situation. Gives you a lot of burst damage in this scenario. You have a lot of squishy targets. I feel like, go and tank Lee Sin. It's like, why are you even playing Lee Sin, in all honesty? And I feel like going your standard, like, Black Cleaver, it's like, who are you shredding armor on? So I like the decision. It gives you a lot of burst potential if you find someone isolated. And it means that if you're going for those kicks, they often get low enough for Lucchesi just to press R and take out. It's more of an assassin build, and he's looking for it right now.
He is looking for it. Poulsen smells something is up. Spooky still waiting in the wings. The wave's going to get cleared out pretty quickly as the Tempered Fate gets dodged away. Event Horizon just keeping Click in a cage for the moment. Because now it looks like Spooky getting cold feet. Gonna step away. Or maybe he's looking for Click.
Still fishing.
Did get a stun off here from Click as actually it might be Sten who's on the receiving end of this gank from Spooky. He's now having to make a way through the alcove. Teleport's coming in, and now Spooky Just gonna have to flip away to safety. Paulson comes in, the cannon barrage is there. That's gonna be the shockwave. You're not very tanky with that build as Click secures the kill. The Meep auto attack's gonna be enough. Deadly Flourish will lock down as the curtain is cooled on Sven. Gets a shield off, but it's not gonna be enough as C-Boy picks himself up the kill. 2 for 0 in favor of Dusty. Event Horizon will slow down the minion wave and pretty much clear it out with 1 Dark Matter. Dusty find their kills, but they can't push for anything else.
Yeah, not much you can do to translate in that situation, but what they can do is reset and move towards the Baron and establish vision there. I honestly feel like that should be the call here. You're never going to find success in this scenario.
Ooh, good Tempered Fate to keep Sten alive. They do lock him up for the moment. A bit of damage as he has to cleanse. He gets stunned off onto Hoyes. Hoyes gets the cleanse to get himself out as well. A lot of CC being layered there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan was from Dusty there. I mean, you're against a Vigar who just one-hits the waves and then throws his cage down. The cage is such a short cooldown at this point as well. Like, ridiculously so. I mean, you're never making that dive work. And actually, by doing that, they allow Spooky and Svene to respawn, who are now heading over towards that Baron. So, honestly, missed an opportunity there. And now they're actually looking to collapse and Paulson, but they won't be able to find it. But the critical thing is, the correct play would have been for Dusty to reset there, head over to the Baron while Nordavind is still down 2 members, get complete vision control, and then start to look for picks. Because right now, there is still actually vision in favor of Nordavind over here. And Touch is looking to re-establish some of this. So a little bit suboptimal there from the side of Dusty, but it's not really going to hurt them too much. Just slow things down a little bit.
Well, they are now moving and look to play this out a little bit. We've got the sweeper on to clear out this ward and the pink wards as well. The vision control is not dominant enough as the true shot comes down from Tide to try and spot out there. It's actually, they do find a stun onto Spooky in the bush.
What a balanced interaction, by the way.
I was thinking that. I was like, oh yeah, I guess it just blocks the damage, but the stun still goes through.
It's because it's like the stun activates after it connects onto another target or wall. So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird interaction, but it's there. It's not very enjoyable for the Lee Sin.
Both crashing in. Both of these mid laners do have a lot of wave clear, though. Taking towers without Baron is exceptionally hard unless you kill Lucchesi or Paulson. See the gold difference over time on your screen right now? Heavily favor of Dusty at the moment, but Nordavind, they're not out. They are still fighting this.
Yeah, and at this point, Tide on those 3 items with that Death Dance. Lucchesi as well got his core completed, and then a large rod as well. There is power on this Nordavind side. Yes, they are down in gold. But it's not impossible for them to take a team fight. We've seen them perform well before, but vision control around this dragon is hugely in favor of Dusty, and they have to try and find a route in.
Oh no, Sten's been locked down. He orange too early. He's just going to lose his life as Paulson gets kicked back into the solar flare. Has to flash out. That's going to be Dragon secured for Dusty. They're speeding their way out. C-Boy fails the dance of arrows. Has to throw the ultimate to keep himself alive. He flashes over the wall. The shield comes down, and Sten unable to survive a very, very messy Tangerine from him. But Nordavind, they're just barreling towards Baron.
Yeah, I mean, they do this so fast. Lucchesi with blue buff as well. He's got 45% CDR. His W is on a minute cooldown. And
oh, that's big.
yeah, Curtain Call going to slow them down.
I think Hoy's just saved the day with that Deadly Flourish and that trap. That
It was
scared Nordavind off Baron.
Yeah, that damage was enough by itself to dissuade them from going for the play. Dusty get a chance to get back on the map, and they now picked up the Cloud Soul. A lot of movement speed. And for some of them, not exactly the most optimal. As you said, for Hoyes, not the best use of the Cloud Soul active, but the passive movement speed massive on a champion like Jhin, who benefits so much from extra movement speed. Once he gets that crit or that 4th shot, he will be running so fast.
He's zooming.
Well, you know, marginally fast. I expected more, honestly.
You're used to Earth Jhin. That's
Yeah,
what you're
used to Earth Jhin. I think that's the thing.
That's the thing ever.
This is less obnoxious. Moderately fast Jhin. Going for a light jog. Not breaking into a full sprint yet.
I'm glad no one's broke it into a full sprint this game as well. Still pretty close, although I say that it's a 6,000 gold lead. They're looking for an assassination off onto Paulson.
Ooh,
Tide
actually didn't hit
able
that,
to dodge
yeah.
away. C-Boy, you might be in a little bit of trouble, my friend, although Click's coming down and Paulson, he's on the receiving end of all of the CC. I don't think he's be able to survive that. That's the assassination. Spooky finds the shutdown.
Yeah, you have well enough AD to just shred through an Orianna, especially with the CC layering from Touch. So, nice little pick. Don't think they're really going to be able to get anything from that, but they're now looking to chain this into more kills.
Well, C-Boy looking for Touch. The Solar Flare's going to connect. C-Boy able to dodge away. Has got that Lamb's Respite. Touch going low. Has to pop the Stone Plate to keep himself alive. Cannon Barrage will slow Nordavind down. Lucchesi's just dealing with the wave. Nobody's going to die. Health bars are going to go low, but now Lucchesi may be caught out here. The barrels are going to get changed. The Deadly Flourish is going to get dodged, but Zen, he has to flash away. Low HP for him as the Curtain Call comes down. Lucchesi actually just looking for the damage onto Hoyes. Has to use the ultimate to keep him alive. Spooky looks to chase in. They use the exhaust, stopwatch to block the Primordial Burst into everything. He has the cleanse. He has the dodge. Spooky comes in. Spooky flashes forward. Hoyes is able to survive. They finally get the shutdown onto him. The teleport's coming in. And now Dusty, they are trying to stay alive. They're fighting for their lives here as Tideway taken out by Paulson. It's a 1-for-1 AD carry for AD carry.
What a chaotic fight there. Tide going so aggressive to try and clean up that kill. Not quite sure that's where you want your AD carry to end up in a team fight. So far away from the rest of the team, isolated between 3 members of the opponents, but either way, they end up trading AD carries. So chaotic though.
Hoyes lived way longer than he had any business living there.
I mean, I feel bad for Lucchesi there. The amount of times he put a Dark Matter down, and then there's something that comes through, you know, whether it's Stasis, whether it's Cleanse from Hoyes. Just watch them. So he goes for the Dark Matter here, and then you can see Hoyes cancels and have the Lamb's Respite to avoid it. He goes for an Exhaust and note there, Stopwatch to block it. Goes for another Dark Matter stun, Cleanse comes out to dodge away from it. And it's just like, these Dark Matters are doing so much damage, but Lucchesi just unable to find the connection. Just a few things interrupting that throughout the fight. And in the end, Tide does manage to take down his counterpart, but ends up dying as a result. The big thing was Dusty had the HP advantage, able to pick up the tower off that, and still 5,000 gold ahead. With that Cloud Soul in pocket, Baron up and available, but Elder Dragon coming up pretty soon.
They're actually trying to hunt Tide down. Tide just able to shift away. They use the Tempered Fate and lock him in place. Deadly Flourish will lock him down as the Cannon Barrage actually doing a fair amount of damage to the Leandries onto Sten. That's going to burn.
Yeah, Leandries, Gangplank, Cannon Barrage is really something else.
The build we did see come up towards the end of summer. More and more teams started to pick it up. And you're seeing why it hurts.
Yeah, that just one item just makes such a big difference in terms of damage for your ultimate. As it tends to with damage over time abilities.
I'm amazed because normally you see the Sorcerer boots come forward when you go for this particular build. But wants to go for the Ninja Tabi to deal with Zen in lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a decent pickup either way. I do want to take a look at something quickly before we move on to the big fights of the game, and that is how many stacks and AP is Vigar on?
Oh, that would
And he is on just under 1,000 AP with 328 stacks, quite a bit. And then to follow up on that, I want to take a look at the Kindred and see what stack he's working with. He's on 9, so one more for another power spike, but he's well past that 4 that you hope to hit. Both of them forming pretty well. So 1k AP Vigar, 30 seconds on this Elder Dragon. I think the Dark Matters are going to be the thing to watch here, but Paulson and Hoyes were massive in game 1. But keep an eye on what they can do in this game as well.
Oh, Sten's finished up the Infinity Edge. So that's Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, Triforce, Leandry's Gangplank. Level 18. A lot of health, almost 3k health. 2.8k at the moment. He is going to be hitting like a truck. The True Shot Barrage is going to come down and Sten doing his best just to try and get the barrel chains off. Not going to be able to find it. Elder Dragon's been started up and Spooky looking for the assassination. That's not going to be a crit barrel, so it doesn't do too much damage. Cannon Barrage is going to be up. They do have C-Boy's ultimates. Ult economy in favor currently of Dusty. That's Lucchesi caught out into the Cannon Barrage. The Solar Flare is going to go out. Lucchesi going to take a fair amount of damage there. Half health by the Cannon Barrages. Curtain Call just going to poke onto Touch a little bit. Sven's going to lock up and take that 4th shot for his team as you've still got the Lee Sin trying to clear the wall, trying to get in. Now Elder Dragon pulls towards the side of Nordavind. Dusty back off, and it's going to reset. They're going to pull it back out once again as the wave's going to get grabbed. And Sten, he's just running to end the game right now. Going to try and see if he can take a little bit more for his team. Has not got that teleport available, but he will crash through this tower oh so quick. But back to the action. Spooky slides in over the wall. Now it's a 4 versus 5. Now Nordavind are feeling comfortable, but Seaboy jumps into the pit, goes for the steal. It's going to be secured by Nordavind. That's Elder Dragon. Seaboy is going to be pulled back out of the Lamb's respite and taken down. Sten's doing his best to be able to survive versus Spooky's onslaught, as he's able to do a fair amount there with those barrels onto touch. Dodges out on this Zenith Blade. Open inhibitor bot lane for Elder Dragon. I think Nordavind will take that.
Absolutely. I think, honestly, wrong decision there from Dusty to send Stem Boss up towards that bot lane inhibitor. Really doesn't mean very much at this point of the game. It's pretty irrelevant. You don't have a serious split pusher to be able to threaten that. And now you're down the jungler. Enemy team has Elder Dragon, and they're going to be starting up the Baron. Very difficult to contest this one, but Dusty have to try.
They have that cannon barrage available. That's going to do a lot of damage with that magic shred. Here comes the Tempered Fate to slow them down. Paulson's just trying to catch the wave, and it's back to business, back to Baron. Click trying to do his best to stop them. Try and play a nuisance here, but Baron Nashor will be the reward on top of the Elder Dragon. Dusty had this game in such a comfortable position, but Nordavind have just played it so smart to pull it back.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the game plan was from Stem Boss. I mean, you weren't going to end the game. There's definitely enough damage for Nordavind to rush down the Elder. I think it was a wrong call from Dusty, and it is being punished massively. They are pushing down to the top side. Well, 5 members there. No real way you can fight them with the extra Elder Dragon advantage, and the minions hard to stop with the Baron.
Sten's just pushing up in the mid lane now. That's his job.
Team's turret has been destroyed.
First going to get destroyed, Seaboy. I think a fair amount of damage there. The Curtain Call just to try and clear the wave out somewhat. The True Shot Barrage can do a bit. She used the Tempered Fate on the tower just to buy some space, to buy some time. But that turret is going down oh so quick. Nordavind may just have done this to push this to game number 3. Dusty are going to have to pull something miraculous out here. There's still 2 cannon minions. There's still a wave to work with. And these turrets are under siege. Shockwave lands onto Zen and the wave more crucially as the cannon minions are going to go down. But another wave crashes in. Seaboy going low as the Elder Dragon block is going to come forward from the ultimate to keep himself alive. Pulled in by Zen from downtown. Long range. Seaboy survives for moments, but it's not going to be quite enough there. Hoy's able to survive. Stunned up underneath the tower. The Nexus has been left exposed. And the Gift of the Elder is just mopping up absolutely everybody. Click and Paulson are doing their best to survive, but they can't. It's going to game 3. Nordavind turn it around.
What a crazy game for Nordavind to pull this one back. I mean, after that early game, I was thinking this is a 2-0, but the resilience was there, the team fighting there, and honestly, some stellar decision making. It wasn't all flawless. This was not a clean game from either side, but Nordavind clutch it in the end. They make the right call around that Elder Dragon, and as soon as they have that, they know they can take the game.
It was a clean second half of that game from Nordavind White. They played a really, really good job just to pull that back from what was rough. And you think back to little moments like the Lee Sin kick into the dragon just to slow down the soul that little bit more. Could have been the difference maker, because the next dragon was gifted over to Nordavind, and that could have been an Elder Dragon. That could have been a Baron. You never know. It was all these little things that Dusty were able to punish Nordavind on was what able to pull that game back. It was really, really good to watch, but that means we still have more to go in this series. Guys, we're going to throw to a quick break, and when we're back with game number 3. See you in a sec.
Hands up, generation, Nintendo education, other kinds of wealth. We found this animation, thought was a conversation, pictures on a shelf. People say we are just what we do. just a stage. So we go on, and the lights are so strong. Just have to make this sound. We've broken ground, it's a countdown. We go on. Go on. Oh, oh. Life is an invitation, a soapbox, imagination. Use it while you can. A handheld illumination, LCD appellation. Show up is the plan. Oh, they say we are just what we do, and it's all a stage. So we go on, and the lights are so strong. Just have to make this sound. We've broken ground, it's a countdown. We go on.
The music takes me places that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches me. The music takes me places that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches me. The music takes me places that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches me. Lift me up, yeah. Lift me up, lift me up, lift me up. Lift me up, yeah. Lift me up. Lift me up. We've got trouble. We've got trouble. We've got trouble, trouble, trouble. Thoughts of you are leaving me breathless. Restless heart is making me reckless, reckless. So
So, you know, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. We've got a series on our hands. It is actually a 1-1 series right now. And of course, we're a little bit surprised. I think Nordavind White coming back here against Dusty. It was against the grain. Even in that game, it felt like it was against the grain because Jin was 8-1. You really didn't feel like Nordavind White had an avenue back in. But my question to you guys is, where was that avenue? What did they do to get themselves back in the game?
I think one of the most pivotal parts was you actually had a composition where you could do what you do best as Nordavind White, punish when your opponent makes mistakes or when they're overstepping. And countless times did they overstep at the Dusty camp, either for getting a kindred mark or just for the sake of fighting for no reason at all. And with the Veigar pick in general, they were able to just pick them apart every time and get a small lead, a small margin every time again. And that was just what you needed. You got picks all the time to were able to steal the Elder Drake, and the deal was pretty much sealed at that point.
Yeah, there was just so many tools on the Nordavind White side available to them, like Goldberg saying, the Veigar, the Leona. And yeah, Dusty, I mean, you know, even in game one, right, even though it was a relatively one-sided game, there were still times where they were kind of overcommitting members, 2 plays, overcommitting time, and they were punished for it. Not as much in game one, obviously, but here they were punished heavily, especially at the Elder fight. It just seemed like such a weird call to send Stenbosse away to the bottom side to try and like break the base at Elder. It seemed strange, and it effectively just cost them the game.
Well, actually, speaking of the Elder fight, Jemad, I think you've set it up quite nicely to take us through that. So let's have a look at that fight, and you can break it down a bit further for us.
So right here, it's actually a decent enough setup for C-Boy and the rest of Dusty. They've already established like pretty much full vision control in the river, and it's Nordavind that actually have to check in to the dragon. And this is kind of like prime position for Dusty. Now, realistically, I think it should be Nordavind that should be pushing up the mid wave and then coming into the dragon. But when it's Elder, things are very high pressure. And Dusty, they get a very nice ultimate onto Lucchesi, and Lucchesi's kind of in an awkward position, but they weren't really able to capitalize on it. And then now they have the perfect setup that they've been using for the entire game. They have the Jin ultimate, trying to lay down some damage, but nothing's really happening. And then eventually it turns into Dusty being in this very awkward position. They're on Nordavind's side of the jungle, and then Stenbosse makes the call, someone on Dusty makes the call to send him to the bottom side whilst Nordavind clear out the mid wave. And now Dusty see this and they're like, well, okay, I guess this is just our dragon. It's not like Stenbosse has ultimate or he can TP back. And you can just see he's just staying bot, hitting the tower, and it's just a plain 4v5. Nordavind can just force numbers advantage, and there's nothing really to draw here. It's just such a strange call to effectively hand over the game to Nordavind, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think as well, you know, given that you've got a Veigar, he can buy so much time for that dragon to go down, and then the zone control that provides. Yeah, it seemed like a very odd call. Maybe they thought they had more time. Maybe they just didn't think that Nordavind White would commit to the dragon. That was the kind of my kind of thought process looking back at that. Maybe they just didn't think that Nordavind White would commit to it. They were like, okay, they've got time. They're not going to go for it. We're dancing around Elder right now. We're stronger. Like, we're just stronger because we have the you know the really big gym. But they'd already blown those zone control ultimates. They didn't have the ability to pressure them off the Elder anymore. And that, yeah, it was, to me, especially when you don't have the gangplank barrels, which I think were primarily your final like zone control ability. I would have sent I don't know, Jin top maybe, but like I don't think I would have sent anyone regardless.
5x scouts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't. I think the thing is, and you can always dive deep into this kind of fight, and there's a lot of pivotal moments leading up until this point. But fact was, you had lanes that were pushing into the sides of Nordavind. The pressure was on them. You had all the vision. As soon as you blow all your ultimates, Cannon Barrage out, Tempered Fate out, the Curtain Call is down, you're basically out of gas here, and you just need to get away from there. If you send Stenbots atop, it's because that you've broken up the fight and you decide to push lanes instead. But you can't just keep leashing the Drake and then just abandon it, because when it's at 50 HP, it's just gonna get picked up, and that is the pivotal moment where it goes wrong.
C-Boy had a cracking game on Lee Sin as well, actually. I think,
Spooky.
you know, again, Spooky had a cracking game on Lee Sin. I really think he stepped up again in that jungle role. And actually, Lucchesi on Veigar seemed very, very strong.
Great.
Great pick as well. As you were right, it really tore apart that teamfight potential from Dusty, and now we're at 1-1, and realistically this could swing either way. Orcs has still got a horse in the race, which is great for him and his predictions. We are going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we'll go to that third champion select of the series. We'll see you then.
Music takes me places that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches me. Lift me up, lift me up, yeah. Lift me up, lift me up. We've got trouble, we've got trouble, we've got trouble, trouble, trouble. Lift me up, lift me up, lift me up, lift me up.
On a night like this, we are something special. We are. On a night like this, we are gonna make it so far, so far. And I don't know where we're going to, but I'm okay 'cause I've got you. Yes, it feels right like this, dancing with you under the stars, the stars. On a night like this, we are something special.
Right, we're into the third game coming your way in this series. I'm going to check on some of the results, guys, before we head forward, just to see if we have any updates. Yes, we are 2-0. Barrage 2-0'd Singularity. I'm sorry, Jake. Didn't work. Either Jamada. I think Jamada,
It
you
was
also
me
went
as
for
well.
Singularity, right?
I had some faith. You know, Zamalek's words really won me over last night in his interview. So
Well, they got
had to throw
absolutely
them
slapped. Barrage 2-0'd them over on the UKEL stream. They'll be covering the Riddle versus Envision series, I'm sure, soon enough. But we are still in this series here, 1-1 apiece between Dusty and Nordavind White. And the ban phase, very similar for Dusty, as they have chosen blue side off the back of that loss.
Ah.
Dusty are pretty confident in their blue side pickup here, but they were not bay banning junglers again, they say for the Lilia. The Syndra is getting banned out here, but it really does look like C-Boy's being targeted by Nordavind White pretty heavily.
Okay, they're banning Kindred themselves now, so they're just like, okay, C-Boy is not possibly the most I think out of the two, Spooky and C-Boy, I think Spooky is going to be the one that's piloting Kindred the better, and I'm going to be more. It's going to be refreshing to see C-Boy on something else. But this does leave open the Vega as well. They didn't see it as a problem in the laning phase, which I understand, but it is still something that Lucchesi had a huge amount of success with in the mid to late game. So how they're going to be dealing with that now is going to be interesting, but if they first pick the Ezreal, I already like these adaptations. Easier to play, once again, with click out of the map when they can't punish you when you have the Ezreal.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping to see, is either the Ezreal or the Orianna pick up there on B1 from Dusty. I think Paulson's had a really solid series on it, and of course in game one, Hoy's like practically took over the game on just the Ezreal alone. So now looking towards Nordavind, I'm hoping for maybe like just a return AD carry into jungle. I think would just be the most sensible thing.
What striking me as rather odd over the course of this particular series is how little priority we've actually had on junglers super early on as like a first blue B1 pick. I think we saw yesterday in our series, pretty much B1 was junglers almost every time. And in a matchup where we really kind of impressed the importance, I know a lot of bans have been levied the way of junglers, but we really impressed the importance of C-Boy versus Spooky. Doesn't look like the teams are willing to give them like a priority pick in a way. Like they're not looking to like very early secure a pick. As you can see with Nordavind White, they haven't even bothered with the jungler on this rotation. They've gone for a Galio and a Jim, which is just given even just how the impact that we've seen from Spooky. It does seem really interesting that they are either looking for some kind of jungle counter pick in inverted commas, or they are looking for, I don't know, like that's what I'm trying to figure out. It just seems odd. Like they wouldn't prioritize the junglers so heavily in these early rotations.
No, but there's a lot of bans out here. You got 4 jungle bans already, which is pretty much the pool there. So Hecarim Lee Sin is something that comes to mind. I want to see the Leona just straight up locked in. I think you need the lockdown potential, and I think that whoever has that, really, it's easier for them to use to fight. If you get that, you already have a composition that kind of resembles your last composition, and you're looking at either a blind pick jungler for Lucchesi now, where you can get C-Boy in a more comfortable spot, or an easier spot for your top laner when they have to pick.
We'll see what happens in this final bit of the rotation here. As you said, like the Leona Orianna combo is super common. As we've talked about before, it just gives you lots of good, easy team fight execution. Leona often solves a problem by herself when you don't have the engage. Leona gives you the engage if you're sometimes lacking it, if you don't have the Ornn in the top lane, for instance. But the Nautilus does come through here from Nordavind White, and obviously, as in previously, we saw things like the Galio get banned away from Lucchesi. So obviously, this is now something that Lucchesi is going to have the ability to influence the map. We've got that global pressure coming from him. This is shaping up to be more of a composition that we've seen from the likes of Nordavind White in the previous series. They're looking confident coming into this matchup with their draft as well.
Yeah, they just needed some more engage to layer on top of the Galio, or just to set up the Galio when he wants to go in. So I'm quite a fan of that. I think the other option would have obviously been the Rakan, but it's kind of like risky picking it into the Leona. Of course, it's not like the best matchup in the world. And just in general, Nautilus kind of synergizes better with the Jhin. So I'm a big fan of that pickup. And now I think you brought up the Wukong in the last pick and ban. I wonder if Nordavind are willing to take it here. With that Malphite ban, it could potentially signal it again. And then again, you're talking about sort of dive into knockups, into Galio, into Nautilus CC. You've got the curtain call from a really far distance. I feel like that could be a potential route for them to go down. Dusty, though, they're definitely quite afraid of the Camille Galio setup potentially too. So I'm curious. I feel like with this top lane pick from Nordavind White, they might just look for some more dive and sort of range here, I think would be the get-go for me.
Yeah, and at the same time, if you are Dusty, I don't think you mind seeing the Nordavind White banning Malphite. Malphite also one of the champions that synergize as well with the Galio itself. You just need engage. So now with Camille out of the way, question is, do you feel like that's enough to just start pinning down Spooky's pull now? Or do you feel like you still need to take care of some of the engage in the top side here? Ooh. And the fact that Spooky had such a good performance on Lee Sin that you ban it here just is testimony to how good this player actually is in the jungle.
Yeah, and I wonder if the Hecarim come through. With the Lee Sin band, you've got, this looks like they want to just dive and have the Jhin sit as far away as possible with the curtain call. So I'm a huge fan of this pick. I've been sort of championing it since yesterday, really. And now I think second time we've seen it locked in, and there's not too many champions in the jungle pool left that are like top tier now. So I'm going to be curious to see what C-Boy decides to dig up here into the Hecarim. I mean, Kha'Zix is even gone.
I was actually going to say that. Imagine if we see Skarner here.
Yeah, it makes a whole bunch of sense. You're able to at least like lock up one of the diving tanks and try and stop him from layering all the CC on your carry. So I'm actually really a big fan of the Skarner on C-Boy. He's played it a couple of times as well, I remember, during the summer split too. So he's definitely comfortable on the champion.
Do you think you just slam on here? Like it's a solid blind pick. Do you think you lack damage if you slam on? Like that's the question. Gangplank seems also fine as well.
I think you end up with too much scaling and like not enough damage earlier on. Yes, you kind of run into that problem potentially with GP, but at least you have the pressure relief of having a global.
You've got the ult, right? You've got the ult, right? Yeah, and that can at least you can respond to like the Galio. We'll have to see what Nordavind choose to go here. Like again, you said the mention to the Wukong would be an option. The Wukong GP matchup's not terrible. So we'll see what they go. I mean, obviously we've seen Lulu top sometimes. It is indeed Lulu. Interesting.
There's definitely a lot of baskets in Spooky's Hecarim here now, where he's going to be the facilitator for the Galio ult here. There's also going to be a speed up from Svenne. Lulu and Jin is normally not the composition you want them to be with, because Jin is not usually the hyper carry. He's more facilitating in the back lane the later stages here. But I like the adaptation to it here. I don't think they could have blind picked on, because Svenne would have just slapped Urgot back onto it and then would have kept on with that. So it's definitely an interesting composition Nordavind White has opted into. They've given it 3 different drafts today.
I think if you're going to play around someone, given performance today, Spooky's the man to do it, right? If you're going to play around anybody on that composition, Spooky's kind of like a guy to make that happen. The Hecarim Galio ult layering is really nice, you know, to get to backline access. You have the ability to make Hecarim beefier with the Lulu. And as you said, Jin's probably never going to get near to the fight. Like, there's no point Jin ever being really near the fight. You're all relying on Spooky to be the majority of the damage soak. But Jamada, before we head over to the casters, talk to me about Dusty. Their composition, is it just classic team fight combo here with a bit of split push, or what are we looking at?
It really does look like, you know, scale to 2 items and then try and take team fights on those item spikes. You know, you're running Ezreal, you're going to want those 2 items. You're running Orianna, you want like Ludens plus another like pen item, obviously GP Triforce. So I like what they've built, but honestly, I'm kind of looking at the other composition. It's so much easier to execute, in my opinion. I feel like Nordavind White, we've seen kind of a relative trend of ease of execution comps are like the ones winning out here. So I think Nordavind White might take this if Dusty slip up.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at Nordavind White's composition and saying my prediction looks a little shaky now. It all comes down to execution in this final game. They're going to hand it over to Orcs and Hiprain to talk a little bit more about those comps.
Thank you very much, Excoundrel. We're getting ready to go into our next game. Unfortunately, we have had another pause at the beginning of the game, so a little bit longer before we get into this, but can talk a little bit more about the team comps and what's been drafted here. Orcs, I'm much preferring what Dusty have got here. They've kept Paulson on the Orianna. He's had some pretty good performances on that. Hoy's over on the Ezreal, again, had a really good game 1 on that. So overall, good stuff so far.
Yeah, and I think we've just been told that the pause is down to a remake for draft. So it's going to be a little while before we do get him back into that game. And I think I kind of agree with you. I do like what Dusty have brought, but I feel like Nordavind White have also brought some strong tools. I think the Galio is something that was frequently targeted and banned away, so a great tool in terms of finding that priority in the mid lane and also being able to lean that around the rest of the map, add that roaming pressure that Galio is so strong at. Obviously, you can follow up on the Hecarim with that engage. And I really like the Lulu pick. I think it's something that is extremely high tier, and typically you see it with, you know, attack speed based AD carries so that you can benefit from the help picks for the extra on hit damage. But realistically, the shielding, the raw health from the wild growth works well in any composition. It's just so valuable as long as you have a sustained DPS carry, and Hecarim can fill that role. So I think the dive potential and the strong team fight in that sense is really good for the side of Nordavind White. Yes, there is some strong tools on the side of Dusty, but I think both teams have given themselves strong composition. It's really going to come down to execution.
Yeah, it's something we've seen a little bit in kind of high-low solo queue, especially over in Korea, I believe. We've seen a lot of the Lulu top lane. So I like it. It's obviously you got the range to be able to deal with the barrels as well, a bit of shielding as well. So kind of negates some of that early trading power, the trial by fire to be able to put out. So it'd be an interesting thing to keep our eyes on. We have now just got back into the lobby, so we won't bring it up, I don't think, but we're just going to quickly rapid fire through this champ so that I can get into the game. There was a client crash which caused it. So it wasn't runes or anything going on that front. It was unfortunately an issue out of the players' hands. So it won't be too long before we get back into our 3rd game of the day. And I want to talk a little bit more about that last game, because that last game felt like Dusty just had it. It felt like it was done. It felt like it was all cleaned up and done. And then Nordavind White just got to a point where they were just winning. I'm not even sure I can put my finger on where, but they just started winning. And I don't know why. It was really, really weird.
I think it was some poor approaches to fights where Veigar really found maximum value, particularly that fight around the blue jungle for Nordavind where they were fighting in the choke points. Never a good idea against the Veigar. And that gave some momentum towards the side of Nordavind, slowed the game down, taking that dragon as well that Spooky stole, gave a lot more time for them to scale up. And the goal difference we saw, which was massive, started to become smaller when when the game goes further on. You know, 2,000 gold at 10 minutes is massive. 2,000 gold at 40 minutes, it's barely anything. And as a result, Nordavind were able to find themselves a better spot. And then it came down to some clutch decision making in the later stages of the game. Around the Elder Dragon, it felt like Dusty made the wrong call going for the bot lane inhibitor. You gave her the Elder Dragon, and then from there, Nordavind could find their footing and start to challenge.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether or not Dusty fall into those same mistakes. Obviously, there isn't the Veigar in this game. It's the Galio in the mid lane. So still has some effective kind of zone control with the with obviously the taunt that Lucchese's going to be able to put down, but also it'll be a bit more of a beefy boy on the front line. So it won't just be kind of playing around the edge and almost shutting down chunks of the map, because that's basically what Veigar does with the Event Horizon. If you're fighting in the jungle, there's a whole passageway that can get cut off, or you can get yourself caught in one small bit where it kind of becomes shooting fish in a barrel. So, you know, this time it's not tied on the Ezreal. It's Hoyes who's got his hands on the Ezreal. 100% win rate in this series, at least so far. And Paulson's sticking to this Orianna. Really, really liking this pick. Has had a good game 1. Game 2 was looking pretty decent as well, but like I said, they were winning until they weren't.
Yep.
And I mean, technically that's I guess how it always goes. But for Dusty, it's really about kind of getting this back, because it looked like it was going to be a very clean 2-0 after that first game, and game number 2 was a lot more extended and a lot worse than I think Dusty anticipated, especially from kind of at 15 minutes. They probably felt quite comfortable being forced into a game number 3. They probably want to tie this up, and Nordavind White, they've got the momentum. That's the big thing. They've got a win under their belt. They were the last team to win in this series, so they've got to be feeling good about themselves. And for them, it's about, you know, more of the same, maybe with a slightly less messy early game, and that's where I've got my eyes on for Dusty. For Nordavind. Don't have a messy early game like you did in game 2.
And game 1, in all honesty.
Game 1, yeah.
I feel like if they can navigate the early game effectively, I think Nordavind are in with a good shot, because I think that mid to late game is solid. If they could give them space, they know how to stall the game out, they know how to find success, they know how to find the right team fights. It's just that early game is, without a doubt, really messy, and particularly the bot lane of Tide and Touch. They were struggling in the early stages, both games, so needed to shape up. This is game 3, it's all on the line here.
Well, it's all to play for. We have got through our small technical issues, and we are on to the rift for game number 3 between Dusty and Nordavind White. Dusty will be on this blue side, Nordavind White on the red. And Seaboy pulling out the Skarner after a pretty heavy trim of the jungle pool.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Yeah, but I honestly think the Skarner is pretty solid in this situation. You've got a lot of high-value targets that you can ult. In terms of, you know, the likes of Spooky and Lucchese. Typically, you know, you're thinking, oh, you Skarner ult the carry, but in a lot of scenarios, being able to drag the likes of a Hecarim or a Galio into your team and burst them is pretty powerful, because yes, they're going to be a bit bulkier than your squishy champions like your Jhin, but they are not really going to be tanky enough to be able to withstand several members of Dusty wailing on them. So powerful tool in that regard, and really good for setting up picks for the team.
Well, I haven't seen any real messy level 1s outside of that one in the lane in the first game. But for the most part, it is a more relaxed start here. Junglers both starting up on their blue side. We'll keep our eyes on them early.
Critical thing is this is a bot side leash from Tide and Touch, but not from the other side. So remember, game 1, we saw Hoyes and Click dominate the bot lane because they got their level 2 advantage and they managed to pressure with this. So Tide and Touch absolutely need to respect this in the bot lane. They weren't to lane first. They shouldn't really be able to contest the wave. And you can see more minions on the side of Hoyes and Click. They're not pushing this fast. They don't want to force Tide and Touch on a tower. They just want to gain level 2 advantage and then look to engage.
Well, for now, junglers full clear coming through from Seaboy on his blue side. Full clear coming forward for Spooky. So it does mean that Seaboy will be on the bot side of the map, or Spooky will be making his way up towards the top. Although both of those lanes are currently fairly pushed up, so not really going to be able to go for a tower dive on the Sten, although he is getting heavily poked out here by Zvene.
Yeah, this
Lulu.
is not a fun lane matchup for the Gangplank. Generally doesn't do as well into ranged champions as he does into melee champions. Those are typically the harder matchups, but Lulu in particular, so much harass you can't really deal with as the Gangplank. So I mean, this is often why the Lulu is so strong, not just because it scales well and provides that utility role, but also she is a lane bully by all means. We did see the level 2 hit in the bot lane by Hoyes and Click, and Tide and Touch have learned from their mistake. Didn't end up getting engaged on, gave respect, so you know, it's already going better than game one.
Good start for them as Paulson is looking to try and shove this wave into Lucchesi. He is actually holding it there. I do think it finally crashed, but was holding it for a while. Lucchesi will pick up the last of this wave, and no marks to worry about on the crabs, so it looks like it is just a gentleman's agreement between the junglers as Click actually will leash the crab for Seaboy. Spooky gonna have to do his own one on his own. And now jungle camps have been fully cleared out both sides, so it's just gonna be a reset for the junglers. Definitely a more relaxed start as far as the jungle go at the moment. Sten is having a rough time. He's keeping up in CS as best as he can, to be fair to him, but he is starting to struggle a little bit here in this lane. And bot lane, 7 CS lead to tied, but a big wave about to crash into Hoist, so that should evaporate fairly shortly.
Yeah, actually, potentially could have seen a dive window, in all honesty, in the top lane. Sten's HP. Spooky, very weird
Bit too
decision
late
making.
on that one. And now Seaboy's making his way over. Will spot him out. Has got the stun there with the crystal. Teleport's coming in from Sten as the ghost has to get popped. Lucchesi's making his way over to make sure he's okay. And overall, that's just a good one. They forced the teleport, but the teleport was already going to get used as Touch goes down. First blood picked up for Hoist. Tide's locked down. Click's looking for the auto, and Hoist once again gets the double kill in the bot lane.
Took a little bit longer this time, but Click and Hoyes again putting on a clinic in the bot lane. Sten on low HP does manage to survive, but Seaboy now moving up.
Yeah, let's say Seaboy should
chase them
just
on.
help Sten shove this lane in. Zvene, pretty low on mana, pretty low on health. Seaboy's just being a nuisance right now. The Scorpion. Just stopping the recalls. Actually really, really nice there from him. While Sten just gets the time to free farm a little bit. Has that Sheen now in his inventory. And Seaboy will help Sten shove the lane out.
Yeah, so when we saw Spooky go towards topside, I actually was watching what he was doing on the minimap. He started a recall, then restarted it, and then finally went top lane.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, we didn't get
And
too much
gets a
of
good
that play.
freeze off there. And wow! Okay. I think we were on a replay. I was watching.
Yeah, we were on a replay, Jake.
My
We didn't
bad.
really get to see much of the play, though, of the bot lane. Didn't really get more information from it, but ultimately it looked like Tide and Touch overextended a little bit to try and look for a kill and ended up backfiring quite substantially with the re-engage. But yeah, I mean, that play on the top side, Spooky start challenge recall, cancelled it. Start challenge again, cancelled it, and then only then went towards going for the Gromp. And it was just too slow and allowed Seaboy to react. So still seeing the same mistakes from Nordavind White, bot lane, fallen culprit, and Spooky making a mistake there. It's not a massive advantage yet, but Dusty, 1,000 gold ahead.
We might see Nordavind actually look to try and pick up the first dragon for themselves. They got a shove in the mid lane. Has actually been neutralized now, but they do have a shove in the bot lane. Looks like they are going to step away. So far in this series, Dusty have been able to pick up Soul 2 times in a row, and it's due to them picking up these early dragons, being able to stack them nice and fast. Sten's now starting to do okay into Zen. You can see that was the grasp auto plus the minion aggro. Doing him a lot of work here. 2 Qs and Bene loses a lot of health.
Yeah, Sheen doing a lot of damage. Not too much armor or HP on the Lulu. Engage, looking to come in here. Seaboy does have ultimate.
Oh, the flash into the cannon barrage as well to slow them down. Tide's going to go pretty low. They actually use the ultimate from the Galio to bring them in. Spooky's coming on the flank. There's the flash. There's the taunt. Here's the teleport to try and back up a little bit more. Lucchesi going low on health, though, and he's going to lose his life as Paulson finds the kill. That's going to be 1 to Dusty.
Bit overzealous there from Lucchesi. Went a bit too aggressive without Spooky there for the follow-up. I mean, honestly, an onslaught of shadows on top of the taunt there would have been devastating for Dusty.
I think Tide might just die here. They've got the shielding. It's not going to be quite enough as Touch goes low. Shockwave will secure that one. Here comes the Galio. 2-man taunt comes down, and Seaboy is charged onto. Beautiful turnaround from Nordavind there to mop up a couple extra kills.
Lucchesi just like, did you miss me? Back already. Comes in with a TP. Able to pick up those kills. Hoyes and Click just a bit over aggressive, and Seaboy pays for it as well. So good play overall for Nordavind, bouncing back from the little bit of a rough start. You can definitely feel like they've gotten that confidence in the series. Paulson, you could be in trouble.
Yeah, Bolton actually can take a fair amount of damage here from Lucchesi. Just going to auto-attack into him, but Bolton now just going to use those clockwork wind-ups to ramp up the damage as Hoyes comes into the pit, looking for Spooky, shifts in forward, Hook goes wide. Here comes Seaboy to secure the dragon. First one for Dusty, and now Lucchesi will lose his life. Deadly Flourish will only lock Seaboy momentarily down as the true shot barrage. Hoyes! That was disgustingly beautiful.
Great play coming out from Hoyes there. The confidence to jump in the pit and the ult to clean up the kill. Gotta say, there was some bad decision making there from the side of Nordavind. Lucchesi deciding to go on Paulson is okay if Spooky follows up, but it was split decision making. Spooky got chunked out by the tower. Lucchesi was trying to solo out the Orianna, and the end result is Dusty were able to respond in force. Now you got a 2-0-3 Orianna, a 4-1-3 Ezreal, and a dead 80 carry.
Yeah, Tide has to cleanse, but it's not going to be enough to keep him alive. Hoyes is on a killing spree, 5-1-3 on the Ezreal. You're talking about how Ezreal spikes on cheap items. Those cheap items are going to come through so quick.
And this is very different to the Ezreal Jhin matchup we saw before. Substantially more gold than the Ezreal this time. I mean, he's going to be able to recall and pick up so many items here. Manamune definitely finished. Sheen on top of that. Massive spike to have at only 9 minutes.
He's going to try and clear this wave out here. Has got the barrels to be able to do so. And that phage, so we'll just lose the single plate for the moment. Has the orange to heal up a little bit. Spooky maybe looking for a dive. Another wave's crashing in. He does have that cannon barrage off cooldown now. Spooky's popped the ghost instead. You have to do some work here to keep yourself alive. No orange, no flash. Jumps underneath the tower to keep himself up for the moment, and actually able to hold out as he clears out the wave. Hasn't got his teammates about, and Sten playing that very well to survive while catching the wave.
Yes, some solid play there. The cannon barrage huge at destroying the minions. Means they can't just drop aggro and then come back in and look for it again. So really nice play overall there from the Gangplank to mitigate that dive. And again, sets Nordavind White behind in this scenario. Aren't able to make anything off that play. And it feels like Dusty are ahead of them in this game, but quite a significant margin.
Well, 10 minutes on the clock, and actually this might be the first time we see the first Rift Herald get picked up by Dusty, although they are trying to contest. The true shot barrage from downtown. Hoyes picks that one up as Lucchesi is going for a light trade onto Click, and Rift Herald is going to reset, but Sten's made his way back over, got the health bar refreshed. Orianna winning abouts as well, and Click actually going for a reset for now.
Gotta say, throughout this series, really been impressed by Click and just his presence on the map. It feels like he so frequently is just paired up with Seaboy, and it's meant that Spooky hasn't been able to really do as much in this jungle matchup. I feel like Spooky individually can match up to Seaboy, but it's not been about the individual play. It's been about the dynamic duo, and it's something that's always really good to see from a support player, is being able to know when you can leave your AD carry, know where you need to be on the map, and having the right timings to roam and move about, and Click has just been stellar with that.
Yeah, Click has been really good to watch with that. But now, though, what has he accrued for his team? He's got a 6-180 carry, 2-0 Orianna as the items are starting to come through. Sheen and Manamune picked up for Hoyes. Got to finish stacking that for the moment. Archangel's on the way for Paulson, probably closing in on that on his next base. Cole almost stacked up for Hoyes as well here. Sten had a pretty rough lane, but he's kept himself equal in CS and actually closing in on his Trinity Force. Just went to face and got himself the double daggers. So overall, does see that items are starting to come online. They're getting closer and closer. Remember, it's the 2 item spikes where Dusty are going to be a real problem for Nordavind.
Absolutely. I mean, even 1 item spikes are pretty nice for them. Triforce for Sten, the Seraphs for Paulson, and then Hoyes. He kind of gets an exception because he's so fed and his items are so cheap, so he'll probably have 2 items at about a similar point. And that will be extremely scary. Won't quite be yet, but we are looking towards a Triforce being completed by Stenbuff. 45 seconds on this dragon. I don't think there's much you can do to contest this.
Yeah, True Shot's going to get thrown down and actually dodged out by Tide on the tail end there. They've still got this Rift Herald, and it looks like they're going to summon it here. First turret blood will be gifted over to Dusty. Well, he's actually gathers a little bit of tower aggro.
That's enough. Just getting it low enough so the Herald can finish it off. They get the first tower. And honestly, you can just go pick up the dragon after this. Spooky isn't even interested in contesting.
Ooh, shockwave onto Lucchesi. He's actually chunked out pretty heavily there. Obviously does have the ultimate available, so we'll just go to base and then be forced to ult in if he needs to, if they decide to contest dragon. But to be honest, I doubt they're going to contest it. Like you said, control of the vision is very much heavily in favor of Dusty around this area. Dragon's already been started up by Hoys. It's only a cloud break. Nordavind are okay to give this one up. And that does mean you're looking at a mountain or an infernal soul here. Finding out shortly. It's infernal.
That's rough. In all honesty, an Infernal Soul, really powerful scaling in the later stages, especially with things like the Gangplank ultimate. Ezreal in general really benefits from having the extra oomph on his Mystic shots, and Orianna, of course. So 2 dragons already in the pocket for Dusty, a 5,000 gold lead. And these spikes are starting to come in. You can see the Archangel's finished for Paulson. Will probably be stacked up to Astaris fairly quickly. And we also have that Manamune for the Ezreal. It's rough because Nordavind, they need time to sort of eke out this goal difference, but the scaling is really good on Dusty.
And Spooky going in a little bit full tilt there. Had his red buff smited away. Jumps onto Click as the solar flare and the stopwatch comes down, but the cannon barrage is there. Sten uses the orange to keep himself alive. Click still alive for the moment as Hoyes jumps over the wall looking for Touch. Touch has to use his own stasis as now the Deadly Flourish will get blocked out though. They're able to find themselves one. Hoyes also answers out. It's a 1-for-1 so far. And actually, Nordavind, they're okay with that, but Paulson able to chase for a little bit more. Tries to come over the wall. Taunt comes down from Lucchesi, and he is going to just about find the kill onto Seaboy.
They're taking damage from the Winds of War, just enough to take down that kill on the Seaboy. Ends up being a 2-for-2, which, considering the goal difference, you will absolutely take that as Nordavind wipe. But unfortunately, you didn't get your hands on one of those juicy shutdowns on Paulson and Hoyes. Those two still alive and available. So, for me, this is kind of like, you took my red. You're angry, you want to make them pay, but they do have a lot of CC coming in initially, but Dusty are there to respond. They have the cannon barrage coming in, they have the TP flank from Paulson, but the fight is very split, I feel, which doesn't really favor Dusty in this regard. Click is able to get picked off, and then Lucchesi actually gets so much damage out, just because he's cycling through his rotations. He's doing so much to Seaboy and Sten in this situation. And because the fight is so split, Paulson and Hoyes aren't really participating in this fight. There's not very much they do, you know. We see Paulson kill Svene, but other than that, they're kind of just on the edge. And that's really why that fight was so even, was because you're missing your hyper-fed carries for Dusty, and those would have been the difference makers.
I was actually wrong. It was actually a 3-for-2 in favor of Dusty. So it could have been more. Like you said, it was a very split fight, but at least they got something. And while Growth actually being forced out by Svene there, Seaboy was looking for him. No Impale available though.
Yeah, it was a 3-for-2. It's just kind of tricky because Touch has so many deaths, it's hard to keep count.
Yeah. But it was still a lot closer than maybe it needed to be.
I mean, for
when
sure,
they're this far ahead.
A lot of pressure coming down in the mid lane. You do see Seaboy moving over, potentially looking to threaten a dive.
He's got that Impale back up. He's looking for it. Solar Flare lands onto 2 as they're just getting a light bit of poke off. Iceborne Gauntlet Slow being really, really annoying. Well, he's getting closer to getting that True Shot Barrage back up as well, so you have to be a little bit careful as the Curtain Call's going to have to come down from Hoyes. He needs to clear out this wave. Otherwise, he will lose the turret without his support. True Shot Barrage does so much damage to him, though.
Now I've got the Manamune fully stacked, the Sarah's fully stacked. Dusty are looking strong. Minute and a half until that 3rd dragon. It's rough to see what Nordavind can do. They are not in a good spot at all. Herald's going to get taken. And you can see Spooky knows he can't contest this. He's just on the other side of the map trying to find something, but nothing's really coming to fruition. Stenboss just chilling under the tower. He's got Cannon Barrage, so even hypothetically, if you do manage to kill him, chances are the wave will die and you won't get anything out of this.
Well, here we go. Gonna hold that orange for the moment. Flash is out. He's fine. That is a flash for a charger. It is a gain for Nordavind, but unfortunately it won't answer in a turret or a kill.
You got to factor in, though, the fact that Dusty just took the Rift Herald. They also got a reset off, so they're now coming out from base, having spent as much gold as possible. The Vamp Scepter picked up for Hoys and Medjais for Polson. And now they're going to push in this dragon area. They want this third dragon. They want the soul win condition as soon as possible when they're this far ahead. And it looks like Nordavind know third one is usually the one you want to contest. The goal difference is 6,000. And I'm looking at this Ezreal and Orianna. I just don't see it.
Well, here comes the fight. They're going to throw everything onto C-Boy. He flashes away. The true shot rips through free. Cannon barrage onto Solar Flare. Forces Zene to ult himself. The taunt will land on the backside, though. Sten's got himself a kill onto Tide. And now Impulsion fleeing, but the shockwave will keep him alive. And Dusty are just destroying Nordavind. Hoy's now chasing onto Touch. He has to hold onto the wall, but Polson will be a nuisance, trying to slow them down for the moment as they find himself their 4th kill. Zvene gets a sloth with the Glitter Lance, but Sten and Hoy's will hunt him down. Nordavind are going to lose every single member on their team and not get a single kill. Dragon, tower, and an ace all over to Dusty.
Can't really say I didn't expect it, but Nordavind go for an ambitious engage onto the Skarner, and Dusty just smack them down. These carries are so strong. Even Folson looked like he was potentially caught out. The shield from the Seraphs and the Shockwave enough to keep him alive.
Wait, Click's gonna get this.
And why not?
No, he's not. Okay, Click. Oh, Sten's it. Actually, no!
Oh,
Spooky! It was a bait all along.
Ah, you hate to see it. Do you see the curtain call? But the curtains are closed on this one. Oh, he's gone a bit aggressive.
Yeah, Hoyes actually does have that cleanse, though. He's going to use it instantly. 2-man shockwave comes down, and Nordavind, it is just falling apart at the seams. The true shot barrage going to go wide, but one last auto attack from Polson will get him the kill, and Tide just loses a quarter of his health to a single Q from Hoyes.
He is doing so much damage. I mean, they're so strong. That's 25 stacks Medjais for Orianna, by the way. Before that dragon fight, he bought the Medjais. He's now got it fully stacked. This is looking nigh on impossible for Nordavind. We'll see the replay. So, reset coming in here for Dusty. Fresh. So, they have full set of wards for Click. They have items to spend, and Nordavind are desperate. They want to pick. They want to take someone out who's isolated and alone. C-Boy is not a great target, though. So tanky, soaks a ton of damage here, and then flashes away. And you can see they just wait out the Galio ultimate, and then they come back in with a cannon barrage. Ty gets ulted and just decimated, and really, there's not much they can do. They try and dive on a Folsom, but look at his shield and the shockwave. It's just not happening.
So many attempts to kill Polson, who up until today hadn't died. I mean, we're only 2nd day in, so it's maybe a little less impressive
A whole
than it sounds.
day of not dying, and now a day of dying, but not much.
It's dying, but less. 609, a 1,000 gold kill, if you can find him.
Yeah, that's ambitious.
But it's proving hard to do. Also, a kill on him will result in him losing some of those Medjai stacks, but you have to kind of get through those Medjai stacks to actually touch him. Spooky making his way over towards the Baron. I'm not sure if they know this is going on, to be honest.
I'm not sure they really care. I don't think they can do anything.
I think they're just going to look for the jungler. They completely distracted by the fact all this action's breaking out mid lane as Polson is going to get caught out instantly. The CC is going to be layered, the shockwave's going to land, and that is the shutdown, but it is gifted over to the support. Click now trying to jump away, has to use the flash. Meanwhile, Baron's getting finished up by C-Boy, and Hoyes is just going to look to rejoin the fight. Sten, caught out by the taunt, will lose his life. Baron's been picked up for Dusty, and now they're looking for fight. They are going to be able to try and keep this going for the moment, but the health bars are low on Nordavind, and Hoyes and C-Boy may just look to turn this around. The taunt does land into the Deadly Flourish. He's able to shift away as C-Boy closing in with the Impale, but Hoyes is missing everything. He can't find a single skill shot. Finally gets one onto the Galio, and 2 versus 4. Dusty are trying to force Nordavind away, shifting in forward, looking for Zene. The hook's gonna land, and they can find the kill onto Hoyes, or can
He's
they?
not taking
Hoyes
damage.
is still alive. He's doing so much work. Zene flashes in, and C-Boy secures another. Spooky jumping in forward, shifts over the wall, and now Spooky, he's the one to lose his life. Hoyes is a madman.
What an item Death Dance is, honestly, is what I gotta say. What an item.
Oh, the blast cone is so unfortunate for Tide. Thumbs up. Ace comes in. Dusty. It is looking clean. It is looking so much better than game number 2. 12-1 on Hoyes.
I mean, he's just monstrous at this point. And it's unfortunate because the start of this play is actually going pretty good for Nordavind. Like, you're not going to contest this Baron. Yes, you lose your jungler, but they actually start to take a pretty positive fight here. They manage to take out Paulson. Sadly, the goal doesn't go to your support, but at the end of the day, you'll just taking him down. And then it's a perfect opportunity. You're 4 against 2. You can open up with the ultimate. This is a really ideal scenario for Nordavind. They do go pretty heavy for Stem Boss. And it's at this point they get the kill with the Glitter Lance. And I'm like, cool, get out. You're done. Leave. But look at Tide. He's still wanting to fight. Look at Lucchesi. Still wanting to fight. You're not respecting the Ezreal. You don't have the cooldowns. You don't have the damage. And they overstay way too much. And it's just a series of being overconfident, looking for too much, and it ends up backfiring. And this is the moment where Death Dance combined with Iceborne Gauntlet, just too much to do anything.
Oh, Touch will lose a lot of health here. They have actually put him in the bounce house, though. The charge comes down. That's going to be enough to find a shutdown onto the main carry for Dusty. But Svene going to lose his life as Polson joins into the fight. The shockwave, the double kill, and 3 quick kills. Actually, it's more than 3. It's an ace. Nordavind are just eradicated from the map again.
Yeah, I mean, Hoyes was in the middle of the entire enemy team, and he still took about 8 seconds to go down, which is just ridiculous. So tanky, really abusing that item. But either way, the time he bought, the damage that was dished out, and Dusty coming in to clean up the kills, they'll take the Infernal Soul. They're going to start taking the base. Not much that Nordavind can do here.
Yeah, this is looking pretty crisp here. 24 minutes into the game, and we've had 40 kills.
Is that it?
This is nasty. 7 turrets to 0.
Nordavind, I looked at this. Sorry, just Nordavind, I looked at the scoreboard and like, you guys get kills?
Oh no.
31 for Dusty. That's the insane one to me. I mean, look at the scoreline. The side of Dusty. We'll get the replay, but I mean, look at Hoyes here. He's just getting knocked up, CC, chain taunted, and he still survives that long. That shouldn't happen to an AD carry. He should just die instantly. It's not fair. By the way, they invest so much to kill just the AD carry, and in the meantime, they take so much damage. Dusty are just easily able to clean up, but really, I'm going to keep mentioning this. Death Dance is not okay.
Death Dance is not okay. I haven't actually read into the item changes coming in the pre-patch. Is Death Dance still around?
I'm pretty sure it's changing. It's changing. It's not in the same form as it is now.
Okay, thank God for that.
Yeah, blast up.
Tank AD carries has been an unpleasant experience, and I think Spooky is about to experience that himself as Solar Flare lands. They get the fear down, they look for the taunt. Hoyes is just healing up more than he can do. That's going to be one picked up by Seaboy already as Polson finds one off camera. Nordavind, 2 members left in the Infernal Soul, going to be oh so much work. Double kill for Polson. The shockwave is just disgustingly big, and that is the 4th ace of the game. Dusty are unleashed.
Yeah, I think Dusty were not happy about losing that game too. Very much put the pressure on this one. No hesitation, no waiting around. And they're going to claim this series and top out their group.
26 minutes on the clock, 45 kills. And Dusty take the series 2-1.
Solid performance. And I think redeeming for that game too, which honestly was messy. This was clean. I don't think there was any moments I looked at and thought Nordavind had a way back in this game. And I think it showed the disparity between the 2 teams because you can't fluke a game like this. This is just sheer destruction from the side of Dusty. And I got to give a ton of praise. I mean, I think everyone on the team is deserving praise. Everyone fulfilled their role. But the bot lane in particular, I think Click was stellar, permanently moving around the map and pairing up with this jungler, and then still has time to find a 2v2 double kill for him and Hoyes. And Hoyes as well, just stellar on these AD carries. Really great to see from the bot lane there. But the whole team, well deserving of this win.
I mean, like you said, bot lane was incredible, but there was another player who was also really, really good this series, and that was Polson. Coming up after the break, he'll be joining us for an interview to break down that series. You don't want to miss that. We'll see you in a sec.
a start. We can't stay where we are, my love. This is our one chance to chase the sun. We've got to cut and run, my love. For all the reasons we work so hard, for the life that we deserve. I know that we'll be on golden sands, seeing far across the world. I know that it's time to make a start. We can't stay where we are, my love. This is our one chance to chase the sun. We've got to cut and run, my love. For all the reasons we work so hard, for the life that we deserve. I know that we'll be on golden sands, seeing far across the world.
Stay sweet summertime, sipping in a high. We caught a fever for two. Go together like neon in the night. I know I'm better with you. I know that you see me the way that I am, floating on a feeling with no other plan. You make me feel good, lost in the moment. You make me feel good, hearts running wild. You make me feel good, love like I'm falling. Know that I'm all in you every time. You make me feel good. You make me feel good, hearts running wild. You make me feel good. You make me feel good, hearts running wild. You make me feel good. Here by my side, I'm in love with every little thing that you do. You're my paradise. As long as I got you, I know my sky will be blue. I know that you see me. I know you see me the way that I am. Oh, the way that I am. Floating.
And just like that, Dusty closed the series out 2-1. Hoys on Ezreal. Pretty insane. Just a little bit insane, that guy's Ezreal pick. Now, before we actually dive into the analysis that I'd like to bring in Gulborg and Jamada for, I actually have Paulson standing by for an interview following that series. So I'm going to bring him in now. Paulson, hello.
Hey.
Hey, first of all, how broken is Hoyes and Ezreal?
Yeah, Hoyes is pretty good in Israel. You thought it was 6, but in reality it was Israel.
Yeah, it was a good series though. In that second game, I kind of want to dive into that because obviously that was the second game that proved a couple of issues for you. When you were playing up into Nordavind White there, what do you think was causing you the most issue? Was it the Vigar, or was it just the way that you played around objectives? When you came out that second game, when you kind of really thought about it, what were the main things that you took away to try and avoid?
For sure, the Vigar gave some issues for like our shorter range champions, and also we don't have that much experience against it. But I think the game was really in our hands, and we misplayed some fights, and it turned out to be just a loss, especially on the Elder fight. It was the last straw to lose the game.
And I think you've actually now beaten both Nordavind Black and Nordavind White, so you've taken out both of the Nordavind teams in your journey through this group. I got converted to a Dusty believer following yesterday's performance. You guys absolutely crushed it. As a team, like, what do you think your main strengths are? Like, what do you think really makes you stand out, especially in this group?
Yeah, so I'm really happy we beat both Nordavind teams. I had some beef going out on Twitter. It was all in good fun though, so that was a personal thing for me, so really happy with that one. For our strengths, I feel like our strongest parts is like we can play for every lane, and yeah, we're very flexible, and I think we're hard to read, so that's why I think we're strong. Also good players all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll have one series left, I believe. I've got to double check. I'm not sure if you've got a series left or you've already qualified. But regardless, who do you think makes it out of the group with you? Because assuming you do qualify, who do you think makes it out of the group with you with the remainder teams you've got here?
I would have thought it was Strict. I didn't watch that much of their play, but yeah, I'm not sure. I think it could be any one of them, but I'm gonna have to go with Tricked then.
Go with Tricked. We'll have to see what happens. Paulson, it's good to see you back at a good competitive level as well. I'm excited to see you play. I know. It's good to see you back, and you played really well on your Orianna, of course. And I'm sure we'll see lots more of you throughout the competition. Thanks for chatting to me.
Thank you.
Oh, nice to hear from him. And obviously, he seems really happy and played really well. Like, obviously, prioritizing the Orianna worked out really well for Paulson. Just to qualify, have they actually? For some reason, my brain is just fried. They've qualified. I think they've qualified, right? Because
yeah, I think they have.
I'm pretty sure because they're in the winners' final, right?
I think they're in. I think they're in winners' final, and if memory serves me right, they now play for like seeding going into.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's the case. I think they'll have a winners' final, but that plays for seeding coming out of the group. So I do believe that means that we've already going to see them qualify out of this group. So they've obviously he's slapping. Goldberg, are you trying to tell me I'm wrong here? Like, where's the slap on the head about? Like,
tell us.
No, it's fine. I'm just thinking of a guy who was teaching someone who hadn't done casting much before, and that was, if you don't know the real answer, just don't bring it up.
Say
Thanks for your very, very powerful lesson there, and I'm sure you're trying to refer to me in some way, shape, or form in that little that little slide jab. It's all right. We're friends on this broadcast. We're supposed to be having a good time, and no, Gulborg has made me feel bad. All right, we're going to go into the play of the series. We're going to block Gulborg out. He doesn't exist. And Jamada, you're going to be taking me through this. So let's have a look at that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just toys. It's just toys popping off. It's Nordavind. I wouldn't really say it's like a huge overstep, but it's Seaboy, Hoyes. They finish off the Baron. They walk over to mid lane, and at first it's kind of slow. Seaboy recognizes, okay, I'm just gonna go in. He has both the E on Tide already, so he drops the ultimate on him to make him QSS. Then he restuns him. Hoyes picks up that kill there, and then it's just kind of a slow chase down, and it's just Hoyes popping off. Death Stance is a broken item, as Orcs was rightfully saying, and Nordavind can't find the damage to execute him, and that's just kind of the play I've picked up here. It was just an exciting thing to see from Hoyes, and I mean, nerf Ezreal Wen is probably the the thing in mind, to be honest.
Yes, I think Hoyes' Ezreal specifically, as you saw in that game, popped off. That brings us to the end of this series. Obviously, I do think Nordavind White had a lot of fight in them. I don't think many people were expecting this to go all the way to 3 games. Most people believe Dusty would be out on top. I want to give you a little bit of an update on the series that have already gone by. If you hadn't heard earlier, as you can see at the bottom, Barrage beat Singularity 2-0. And right now, Riddle versus Envision is currently underway. Envision are actually actually 1-0 up in that series over on twitch.tv/the UKEL. So we are seeing that series in full swing. And if Envision were to 2-0 that, I think that again would be a little bit of an upset based on most people's estimations. But again, Envision are on an absolute tear right now. Now, we will be heading into our next series of the day, which is going to be Viking versus Unique. Gilborg, a little breakdown of I'm going to specifically ask about Unique here because you were repping them. You were one of the few people to rep them against Cova yesterday. What is it that Unique bring to the table? What is it about Unique that makes them a strong team?
Yeah, just speaking of the small scenes in general, we have in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. That is just a super team coming in from Sweden here with the players they are bringing. And I think you saw it against Kobe with a pretty much perfect game almost coming out for them. A bit inconsistent going into the second game, but still clear strengths are showing from this team. And I do believe that they have the power to take games again tonight.
Yeah, and they're going up against Viking, who I wouldn't say that they're the Norwegian super team because I don't think they were as dominant in their respective scene as Unique were in the Swedish league, but they are an all Norwegian team. So we have Norway versus Sweden in this winners bracket, best of three, coming up after the break. We're going to dive into that first game.